What's up, guys? We're gonna just warm it up over here while everybody starts coming in. I think it's Friday. I don't know how long it takes people to show up to things on Fridays. I think you're not early or late, but maybe it's just us here. So, morning, guys. Nice to see you guys. They're gonna pull up the chat in a second so I can interact with everybody. Hope you guys had a good week. I had a good week. I got 2 executives hired for acquisition.com. Fucking amazing feeling. You guys ever get that? Like, I think the best thing ever is when you hire somebody. I'm like, I think that's the most exciting thing I do now. Is like when I get someone hired, I'm like, that's the best. So excited to introduce everyone to the team in the next quarter. We're just gonna give it a second, let everyone roll in. You have beers? It's like what, noon, right? I guess it's 3 p.m. for some people. We shall see. Cool. Can I see how many people are on the chat so I can decide when to start? Is that a thing? Or the Zoom? Oh, cool. Okay. Let's just give it like 50 more, just so we know it's at 400. You guys excited to talk about people? It's like, I don't know if it's like interesting because I'm asking you guys, but then I have no response. It's great. Love the chat though. Awesome. Cool. You've been one your whole life, Scott. Correct. We're all people. Except for Alex, he's an alien. But that's a different story for another time. Cool. Okay, cool. We're gonna go ahead and get started. And for everyone who comes in late, that's what you get for being late. I'm kidding. Okay, cool. So what I want to talk about today is people. This is what most people want to talk to me about because I think that, especially my core content, when I started making content, I started talking about teams and leadership and people. And I want to caveat this with one thing for those of you who might have this like the least prioritized topic that you want to learn about, which is I did not start in management. I did not start in leadership. In fact, I started in sales. So I learned fitness. I went to school for exercise physiology. And then I graduated, and all I did until I met Alex was sales. I did fitness sales. I did webinar sales. I did sales for high ticket. Like I literally did sales for everything because on the side, while I was doing fitness sales, I was also doing remote sales for people who had remote businesses that had high ticket packages. So all I did was sales. And actually, when I was a trainer and I was working at a big gym before I took my clients private, there was a time when they came to me and they said, hey, we would like you to be a manager. And I remember my reaction. I was like, I would literally rather eat glass than be a manager. Are you fucking kidding me? You want me to be responsible for these other fucking people and their shit? No way. I was like, dude, I at that point was one of the highest producing salespeople. And so I was like, dude, I'm good on my own. Like, why would I want to manage people? Sounds terrible. And then what happens? Four years later, I'm like managing a team of 130 people. And so I did not come from this as a background. I never intentionally was like, oh, I want to manage people. And I think a lot of you, if you follow my content, see me today, that is what I'm passionate about. And so the thing that I thought I hated, which was like leadership and management, became the thing that I've been passionate about and I love. And that's why I'm talking about it with you guys today. Because what I realized in time is that all the skills that allowed me to have influence in sales also allow me to have influence in building a team and recruiting people and building the people functions. So what are we going to talk about is how to build the machine that builds the business today. And the core principle that I want you guys to understand, what I want you to walk away with, is understanding that it's not necessarily just about people. It's about the systems that allow people to do well in a business. Cool. Can everyone hear me okay? Let me know in the chat. It says, you guys say the volume's good. Is the volume good? Are we hearing it okay? Okay. Maybe you gotta turn your computers up. I don't know. We'll find out. Okay, cool. So caveat, I want this to be interactive. So I'll tell you guys, I actually haven't seen what Alex has done for y'all on any of those calls that you guys have had with him. So I want this to be interactive. I want you guys to walk away with a list of things and knowing what you need to do. And so in order to do that, I want you to pull up either a notepad or a piece of paper, or it could just be notes on your computer, whatever it's going to be. And what we're going to do is we're going to walk through some activities together. And I'm going to ask you guys, I'm going to engage. And through each section, I'm going to be asking you guys to drop things in the chat, as well as questions, so I can pull out questions throughout the presentation to read. Sound good? Can you guys drop a 1 in the chat if that sounds good? Amazing. Fantastic. Okay, cool. So I want to start this off with a frame, which is, and you can insert whatever revenue you have in your business. Oftentimes your 10 million, 3 million, 1 million, $100 million problem isn't actually what you think it is. A lot of people come to me and they say, Layla, I have a people problem. Oftentimes when I ask enough questions, I realize they actually don't have a people problem. They have a systems problem, a leadership problem, a talent problem, all disguised as a people problem, right? And at the end of the day, what I want you guys to have is the frameworks to fix any one of those pieces in your business. Most founders, what happens is they reach a certain revenue level and then they plateau. It's like you hit this invisible wall. Anybody ever done that before? It's like you hit a revenue mark and it's like, I don't know why the fuck I'm trying so fucking hard and I cannot get past it. It's like you start trying harder, you start spending more on ads, and then what happens? You're still plateaued, your team starts churning, you have the same fires coming every quarter after quarter after quarter. And what happens for a lot of people is they hire faster, they hire more people, they push harder, they work longer hours, and then what happens? Fucking nothing. I know you guys have felt that way before because I have been there before, where it's like you're trying harder than you were a year ago, you're making maybe as much money, but you have more people, more overhead, more responsibility. Why? Because you are trying to scale, say, a $3 million operating system into 30 million, 50 million, 100 million of revenue. And so the answer is not that we have to work harder because we have the wrong operating system. We need to build a new operating system that actually will multiply your effort into leverage so that you can really build the business. And that is what we are going to talk about today. You can get to 1 million, 5 million, 10 million. Some people can get to 20 million or 30 million with just work ethic, but you cannot get to 50 million, 100 million, multiple 9 figures without having systems and leadership. And the issue is that most people don't know the difference. Oftentimes when somebody comes to us and they want to be a portfolio company, right? They have a good product, they have strong demand, they have an okay team, but they're stuck. And they're like, why am I stuck? The reason they're stuck is because they are trying to scale their business using the same operating system that they had when they were at, say, 500,000, a million, 3 million, insert whatever number, right? And I want you guys to understand too, this happens at every level. So me right now, trying to scale a multiple 9-figure company into a $1 billion company, I cannot have the same operating system that got me to 9 figures. I have to have a completely different operating system to get me to $1 billion. So that's what happens. And a lot of times what happens when you're at the part where you're trying to scale into multiple 8 figures, 9 figures, is that you're winging a lot of stuff. Like culture doesn't have a system, you're bottlenecking decisions, you're scrambling to hire people, and you don't have systems that turn your effort as a founder into leverage for your team. And so a lot of people, again, they just think they have to work harder, but that's not actually what you have to do. The answer is we have to build the machine. So that's what we will talk about. Now, this happened to me because when we, in 2018, maybe it was 2017, I can't remember, there was a week where I literally was like, I want to burn everything down. Coincidentally, this was the same week that we hit, I want to say it was the $50 million revenue mark. And so in that week, we hit 50 million revenue, which everyone's like, amazing, this is so exciting, this is so good, like congratulations. And people are all saying congratulations, our team's all excited. And me, I'm like, I just lost or fired my COO. I lost 3 top performers because they all put in notice. I lost 2 of our biggest clients who then started hate Facebook groups about how much they hated us personally, which is amazing. And at the same time, we're growing 30% month over month. But at the same time as we're growing in revenue, we are hemorrhaging people and problems at the same time. And so that was the week that I realized something, which is what it's like, you have to get the success and the money in order to realize something. Growth doesn't fix a broken system, and it doesn't fix problems. It actually amplifies them. It multiplies them. And so if you grow, your problems grow with the business. We had a culture, like we really did. We had a culture, but we didn't have a system to enforce that culture. I was an okay leader, but I was also the bottleneck in every decision in the business, and I was losing my mind. And we were constantly hiring people, but we didn't actually have a funnel to attract the right people easily and retain those people on a long-term basis. And so we had people, but we didn't actually have the machine to multiply their efforts. Okay, and so what I realized is I had built a business that was at $50 million in revenue, but I had I really think it was an $8 million operating system. Okay, like it was like right when we got to around 8 to 10 million, that was when I was like, oh shit, everything got reactive, and then we just rode off that. Some of you guys can relate to that now. And what I felt was like it was collapsing under its own weight. I just remember saying, I was like, dude, we have so much debt. Like we have debt in the business, like systems debt, people debt, sales debt, IT debt, finance debt. It's like I can't build stuff fast enough. And that is when I realized I needed to stop trying to fix by hiring more people or getting better people. And I needed to have a better machine to build the business because the business didn't need better people. It needed better systems for people. And this is really hard to differentiate against because our brains like to generalize things. And so most of the time when people come to me, they're like, I have a people problem. I'm like, no, you have a insert one of these other 7 things. So what are those 5 things that help scale or not scale people, right? They insert one or the other. Okay, the first one is culture as a system. This is what we're going to go over today. How do you turn your values into an enforceable operating system? The second one is the founder, you guys, as the capacity ceiling. This is probably my favorite section and the most relevant. It is how do you stop being the motherfucking bottleneck, right? Because most people on this call are still there. We are always bottlenecking our business. We are just at a different point. The third piece is the people flywheel. Okay, this is how you build the machine that multiplies your talent, which brings us to the talent engine. How do you build a funnel to actually attract the A players, the right people for your team? And then lastly, systems to scale. How do you professionalize without losing speed and hating your fucking business? Because everyone always is like, oh, I don't want to be corporate. I'm like, me fucking neither. Do I sound like I want to be corporate? Like, I hate that shit. I have never worked anywhere corporate in my life. I don't even know what it looks like. So this is what we're going to go over. There's really 5 frameworks with frameworks within the frameworks, 5 systems. And what I want you guys to have by the end of this is that you're able to determine which of these systems is the priority in your business. Okay. And then of that, what can you do to move it forward after you leave here this weekend, next Monday, this month, whatever it might be. I want you guys to actually take this away. And that's why I want you to be interacting this whole time, writing these things down. Great. So section 1, we're going to start with, and get ready to write things down. Culture as a system. Culture is not what you say. Culture is what you enforce. Okay. Most people think they see culture as poster with like values on a wall. But that's not what it is. It's not even your values, okay? It is really not. Your values don't mean shit if you don't have a system to enforce them. It is a system of enforcement, recognition, and consequences. That is what it is, okay? Most founders think it's like vibes or it's values, but it's not. You have to have a system to tell people what's important. What do you reward? What do you punish? What has consequences? What doesn't? What do people get recognized for? And so what we're going to talk about is how to actually put that in your business and to analyze what you currently have. Okay, so why is it that a culture statement doesn't work and why values alone don't work? Okay, most people, what they do, and some of you can relate to this and some of you don't. Maybe you've watched my content and so you're ahead. Okay, a lot of people write down values. They're like, here's 5 values. I'm going to put them on my website. I'm going to put a poster on the wall. I'm going to tell people about them in hiring. I'm going to tell people about them in onboarding. I'm going to fucking hope to God that they actually live by them. Does that sound familiar? And like, if that relates even just a little bit, then it's like, we could do better. And like, you might not be terrible at this and you might not be amazing at this, but you're somewhere in between and we can always get further towards the side that's going to help us grow our business. Now, what actually happens in real life is that it doesn't matter what poster you have on the wall. It doesn't matter what you say in onboarding or when you're hiring people. What matters is what you fucking do. People don't care what you say. They care what you do. Culture is caught, not taught. So something I tell my team when people come into this building is that it does not matter what you say on stage. What matters is what happens around the stage. When people are going to the bathroom, when people are walking into the front, do you say hi? Do you shake their hand? Do you know their name? Do you know something about their business? It's caught, not taught. We lose credibility when we get on stage if none of those things have happened. The same goes for your business, right? I'll give you an example. There's actually somebody in this room that I will use, Luke. So I remember Luke was new to this team. And I remember there was an event that we had. It was our full team event. And I saw that somebody had tossed a donut into the garbage. And when they hit it to the garbage, it had sprinkles. It like hit the side and sprinkles flew everywhere. So I went and I started picking up the little sprinkles from the floor. And then I put them into the trash. Luke walks over and he sees. And then he mentioned something to me the next day. He says, hey, like, it's cool that you actually like walk the talk. I saw you doing that. when nobody was even watching. So what happens a month later? A month later, this team in here actually has a meeting in the conference room. They're eating. After they're done, there's food left around. I walk into the conference room. Guess who's cleaning it up? Luke. Luke was cleaning up the food. Caught, not taught, right? So culture becomes whatever you tolerate. And the worst behavior you accept becomes the standard for your whole company. I don't know how many times I can say this because people really don't get it. It's like, you cannot be permissive. And ask anybody in my company, like the hardest thing to do is to hire and fire for culture. It's also the most important thing you can do because your business is not better than your worst employee. So think about, I want you guys to visualize this right now. Who's the worst person on your team? That's your culture. Seriously. I had a moment the other day where I was talking to somebody and I'll be a little transparent. Like last year, we hired a lot of people. And I remember at one point, I got to a point where I was like, ooh, there's like 3 people that when I think about the business, I think about how they just don't fit in. And so I pulled my whole leadership team in. This was tough. It was last December. And I said, hey, these 3 people got to go. And everyone was like, seriously? And then I was like, yeah, I want to get rid of them all at once. They're not culture fits. There's nothing you could do to convince me otherwise. I've interacted with them. They're not for this team. They do not uphold the culture. And I can't sleep well at night knowing that they're here. What happened? We got rid of them. Everything got better. So culture is not what you announce. Culture is what you enforce. It's what you enforce with your actions. Okay. There was a time in 2018, I had a sales guy and he hit 150% of quota every quarter, which you guys know, these are the hardest ones because you're like, and he keeps selling so much shit. So I want to keep the guy on my team, right? And he hit it every quarter. And so at the same time as he's hitting it every quarter, he treated the sales ops team like garbage and basically everybody else on the team. And I felt like he was definitely one of those people that suppressed other people in order to stand out in the organization. And so for months, it was like, I want to say it was around October. I was like, I'm just going to get through Q4 because I was like, hiring a top salesperson in Q4 is tough because they're all trying to stay and get their annual bonus. And so I was like, I'm going to deal with it after Q4 wraps. Now, what was I doing? This is what I didn't realize at that time while I was postponing that. What did I teach my company? What did I teach my team about that? About me, about the company? I taught them that performance beats principles. So what ended up happening? I ended up firing him, but only after I lost 2 sales ops managers, I lost my head of onboarding, and 2 other sales guys. So the $1 million in the quarterly quota that I didn't want to lose actually costs me 1.2 million in turnover plus the lost sales from those 2 sales guys. I did the math. Now, why is that? Because I didn't enforce my culture. And so the good people, they left. Culture is what you reward, you recognize, and you tolerate. Everything else is marketing, and it's bullshit that we tell ourselves to feel good about ourselves. I fucked up in that situation. And the thing is like, I don't want you guys to think that when I stand up here, I'm saying I'm perfect because I'm not. We all have blind spots. What I try to do now is I ask people, ask my EA team. I'm like, is there anybody on this team that I don't realize is like completely fucking with me? And like, they're like slipping by. Like I'm always asking people that shit because I'm like really paranoid that I don't see it because people are going to kiss your asses. Like you guys own the company, your CEOs, your leaders in the company, they kiss your ass, whether they mean to or not. If anything, it might be good because it means they admire you, or it might not be because maybe they don't admire you and they just want to keep their jobs. We don't know. But either way, it happens. So that being said, it was my fault. And what I realized is that in that moment, I taught my team something by what I did, not by what I said. And I was not aligned with my own values. So what does this mean? A lot of people, this is really important. So for those of you who really want to make this work, please understand this stack. Please take a screenshot. I'm going to give you guys the slides after this, by the way. So like, don't feel like you need to write all the slides down. They're not like sacred slides. Like, anyways. So look at this stack. We have 4 things, and this is what creates culture. You have observable behaviors, you have rituals and systems, you have your declared values, and then you have your purpose and your mission. I'm sure for most of you here, you can identify with 3 and 4, right? You're like, oh, I have a mission. I have a sentence that I say to people. I have values. I have 3 to 5 things that I claim that we live by. But then you're like, oh, rituals and systems, observable behaviors. Like, what does that mean? Okay, most founders start at the top and then they wonder why nothing sticks. Or they start at the bottom and then they wonder why nobody believes them. You build from the bottom up, but what I want you guys to understand is that you have to have the whole stack. You cannot have one or the other. You need the full thing. So if we think about purpose and mission, why does the company exist beyond profit? And listen, you guys have asked me about this. You're like, well, to grow in revenue or to do this or to do, like, I want you to really think about one sentence that you can put together as to why the company exists. And I think the reason why this becomes so hard for people is because they think it has to be perfect. Just start with something that resonates with you and that you feel good saying. Don't make it this giant thing like, well, Elon has go to Mars and this person has this. It's like, please stop. We can think of one by the end of the day. Now, once you have that mission, we go into values, right? These have to align with the mission. And when you really think about it, it's like the mission is like, where are we going, right? And why? Where and why? The values are how. How are we going to get there? So for acquisition.com, when we think about making real business education accessible to everybody, and then I think about our values, competitive greatness, sincere candor, unimpeachable character, I'm like, well, in order to get there, I don't want to be the opposite of those things. So sometimes a great way to think about your values is to think about, what do I not want to be? So when I thought about, what do I not want to be? I do not want a company full of people who just want a paycheck, and I do not want a company full of people who don't want to grow. What's the opposite? Competitive greatness. What do I not want? I do not want a company of corporate bullshit, beat around the bush, lying, where I can't just plain speak. Right? We're using like fancy words and shit to like make people think we're smart. Hate that shit. Sincere candor. Hate having people on my team who act like one person at work and are somebody completely different in their personal life. Well, it's the opposite of that. Unimpeachable character. So I say all that because I want you guys to think through your values and think about the opposite of your value. Is that something that you really detest? Because oftentimes when you're thinking through these things, it's easier to think of the inverse rather than what you actually want. Now, on top of that, the two that are usually missing in companies, especially as you're trying to scale, rituals and systems, observable behaviors. Rituals and systems for a culture, they either happen purposely or on accident. They are happening in your business. It's just, are you aware of them and have you intentionally built them? Right? These are recognition programs. These are meeting cadences. These are feedback loops. These are structures that reinforce behaviors, right? So if you think about it, right? If you have a dog, this is a structure that reinforces behavior. The dog comes up to you and then it jumps on you and you shoo it away. That right there is a system. It's a feedback loop. It knows that when it jumps on you, you shoo it away. It's a little bit of friction, a little micro consequence. So because of that, the dog is going to stop jumping on you. Whereas if every time the dog sits, you give it a treat, that's also a feedback loop. And then it wants more of the treats, so it sits more. Okay, that is a system to reinforce a culture. It's like you see some people have dogs that just like run rampant and shit everywhere. So annoying, especially the tiny ones. And then you see people have dogs that are like very well behaved. I actually see that in people and I'm like, that person would be a great leader because they're very good at training people. They're very good at enforcing systems. Now, on top of that, we have observable behaviors. Okay, this is what people actually do on the daily. How do they communicate? How do they make decisions? How do they treat each other? Right? And again, this is an amplification of the values. So what I want you guys to do, and you can drop this in the chat right now, is I want to audit your culture stack. Okay, so think about this. What are the 3 most common behaviors that you can think of in your company, good or bad? I can think of a couple for mine. I'll give you examples. Okay, so I would say people get here really early. A lot of people are here early. A lot of people working out in the gym early. A lot of people are here on weekends. A lot of people respond very quickly, like fast communication loops. A lot of people really hard on themselves. Put that one in there. I wouldn't necessarily, that's always a positive. And people speak very plainly. So it's not like, we don't have a lot of like jargon around here. It's just like they just say what they mean, right? Those are some examples I have. Now, second piece that I want you guys to write down. What systems do you have to reinforce or contradict those behaviors, right? So I'll give you an example of contradiction. So one, rule that we have is like when you're in the gym, you got to put your weights back and you have to make sure all the weights are facing the right direction when you leave. So what happens is if somebody doesn't do that, the gym closes for the day. That is a system to reinforce competitive greatness and to reinforce honesty, because what we will do is if somebody owns up to it, then we can open it back up. right? So think about that. Do you have systems? So you're looking at the 3 most common behaviors. Do you have systems to reinforce these things or to contradict them if you don't want those things to be happening? So some of you have things that are common behaviors that you don't like, but you don't have a system to contradict it, meaning it happens and you allow it to happen. You're a permissive leader, or you have permissive leaders in your company. People who are afraid to stand up for the culture and say something because they're too fearful of what it means about them and feeling bad. So it's like they're more fearful of like how they feel in the moment than they are of upholding the culture, right? And then the last piece is, do your stated values match layers 1 and 2? So I want you guys to write this down. Please drop in the chat. I'd love you guys to just say, like, what are the most common behaviors you have in your companies? What are systems you have to contradict? Okay, people are polite and respectful. Love it. They own up to their mistakes. Love it. Speak their beliefs. Distracted by phones. Are you distracted by your phone? Optimistic and helpful. Those are good. Individual contributors work in silos. Okay. Just like, do you want to change that? Hardworking, communicative, optimistic. Helpful and quick replies. Customer centric. Long-winded. Are you long-winded? It's funny because as you guys are looking at this, right? I think what's funny is like recognizing like, okay, well, who's reflecting my behavior, right? Because the company is often a manifestation of us, just amplified. Great. So as you're looking through these things, you're thinking, what do I want to enforce versus not enforce? I want you guys to think through this matrix. This is one of the simplest tools that you can use in your company. And because of that, people don't do it. So it's kind of like people are like, hey, if you want to gain muscle, you just got to do progressive overload. And they're like, got it. And they're like, why is my Pilates and yoga and my, HIIT and me eating nothing not working? And people are like, because you're not doing progressive overload. It's like simple, not easy. Okay, so this is something I have my leaders do each quarter, and then I collect it, I look at it myself. Personally, I get them all sent to me. So this is an enforcement matrix. Now, why? Because we're gonna look at performance and values. This is one of the tools that I like to use in the business, so I would suggest if you guys don't do this, do it on a quarterly basis. Maybe if right now things are moving fast, you could do it monthly. It's super easy to do. So essentially what you have is at the top, you have high values alignment. The bottom, you have low values alignment. On the side, you have low performance. The other side, you have high performance. Right? And so really simple. It's just that who are your stars in the company? Who are the people who you want more of? Those are people that fall into high performance, high values. Right? Now, those are the people that we want to promote. We want to reward publicly, make examples of them. These are essentially the people that carry your culture. Right? Now, on the other side, we have people who are low performers, but high values alignment. People are like, what do I do with that? Okay, these are people to develop. A lot of people are like, I'm gonna fire them. It's like, okay, you're never going to have everybody come to your business just like, I say like ready-made. Like that's just not what happens. They're not ready-made. There's lots of people that are gonna come in and they take developing. And especially based on the function they're in, you're gonna have more or less of that. So when you have that, what do you do with those people? You wanna coach them, you wanna train them, you wanna give them time, you wanna give them resources. These people will be incredibly loyal if you take the time to invest in them. I can tell you that. I think there was a stat, and it was something like people that you have to train twice as long stay 5 to 6 times as long. So it's like it might feel like a lot that you're putting so much into training this person, but they're also probably gonna stay with your company that much longer. Now, on the bottom, we have what I call, and I'm calling it only for the sake of you guys remembering it, toxic talent, okay? These are people who are high performers, but they are low in alignment with your values. Remove immediately, regardless of impact. Like, I cannot tell you guys, these people are why the people above them leave. Stars leave because you keep in the toxic talent. That's like if you want a reason to get them out, that's not incentivizing, because who in here, drop a 2 in the chat if you have somebody like this in your business. Be honest, please. Like, it's just not helpful for not. If you have someone like this in your business, they are the reason that in a month or 2 months, your top performers leave. I promise you. I feel lucky enough that people on my team will come to me and tell me when someone like this is on the team. But we're not all that lucky. Instead, what will happen, a lot of these people, your stars, will leave and not tell you why. And often it's because you kept these people. And the thing is, if you get these people out, your entire team will perform better. And everyone always tells me like, wait, It's my top performing salesperson. It's my COO. It's my CFO. I have fired all of those people and had no backup except for myself and not known shit about the function. You just got to deal with it. I don't know what else to say. I've had to fire a CFO who I had zero idea how to get into anything. I had zero idea how to do anything, and I had to jump in myself while I was managing the entire rest of the business. I've had to do it with a COO where they had 8 people reporting to them. Nobody reported to me. I had to jump in, relearn everything. I have done it with top salespeople who are producing, 30% of the revenue for the business. Ironically, when I let that person go, what happened was that everyone overperformed and made up for it because they hated that person on the team. So that being said, that's what you do with those people. And on the other side, we have people who are low values and low performance. Those are people that you just want to exit. I mean, you can put together a performance improvement plan if that makes you feel good. But at the end of the day, I ask myself the question, am I doing this just to allow myself to exit them? If so, let me spare their ego and time and just exit them because I know they're not going to be here. So most people don't have a framework for enforcement, right? Now, enforcement, what I said, right? It's what do we reward? What do we have consequences for? What is the most obvious thing? People. Who do you keep on the team? Who do you promote? Who do you reward? Who do you promote publicly? Who do you tell the team is doing a great job? This is your number one system for reinforcing culture. By who you promote, who you hire, who you fire, how you coach and train people. So if you're like, how do these things connect? That's how they connect. This is like, if you could do one thing to reinforce your culture, it is this. But it's also the hardest thing. And so most people avoid it and they try all the other fancy things of like, let's have this cool quarterly bonus thing and let's have this other thing and let's do these fancy shout out things. Like, fuck that shit if you're keeping these shitty people and then not promoting and putting on a pedestal the people who are great. This is the 80-20. This is the 80. Now we can talk about the other 20, but I want you guys to understand, like, I don't know how to get it through because this is something I've dealt with lots of people. And oftentimes there's some people, let me ask you guys this. Are you the type of person who needs to learn all the mistakes yourself? Or are you the type of person who says, I don't know if I have time to learn all the mistakes myself. I should learn from somebody else. Someone asked me that question 10 years ago. And I said, well, I'm good at learning mistakes myself. I'm very resilient and I come back. And they said, great. So you can spend your entire life learning all the mistakes yourself and never gaining the reward or never getting to the other side and experiencing the wins. They said, or you can trust that there are patterns in humans and patterns in business and you can learn from other people. And then you can save yourself all that time. And I remember they said, that's how you skip decades. So people would ask me when I was 25, 26, 27, with $100 million net worth and a huge company, how did you do this? And I was like, I trust other people when they tell me their mistakes. So I want you guys to trust me when I tell you not letting go of the toxic talent, not reassigning or getting rid of people quickly. It's one of the biggest mistakes you can make. And your brain will make up all the excuses in the world as to why I'm wrong and you're right to keep them. And it's wrong. It is a narrative, it's a story, it's unproductive, and it's not going to help your company. And all the fears that are flooding you right now of all the things that will happen if you do this, they're also just your brain trying to protect you. It's not helpful though. You're going to be fine. Your business is going to be fine. So for acquisition.com, for example, where's my line that I draw? I draw the line at the culture and I call our values non-negotiables. I want you guys to think of your values that way. If you violate one, you're fucking out. Why? Because tolerance teaches everybody that the line is negotiable. Okay. Now I will say, like, we didn't start with values that were so crystal clear and easy, honestly, easy for me to follow. When we had our first company, it was like, we started with like, I want to say it wasn't even 5, it might've been like 6 or 7 with like, integrity and excellence and like, whatever. It's like, of course we want people to have integrity and be honest and excellent. Like we all want that. But I remember I fired somebody for one of them and then realized like, that actually wasn't really why I fired them. I didn't care about that so much. It was actually this other thing that was much more specific. And so we made them much more specific. So I want you to think about, if you're having a hard time with this and trying to figure out, like, are my values the right ones to build systems around? Because that's what big companies do. They build systems around values. Ask yourself, what are the last, like, look at the last 3 to 5 people in your company that you've fired. Why did you fire them? Please write that out right now. Why did you fire the last 3 to 5 people in your company? That will tell you what your real values are. Maybe for some of you, it is performance. Maybe you're like, fuckers didn't hit quota. Like, you're out. Like, we don't tolerate that here. And you know what? That's okay. It's not a fit for everybody, but it's okay. Let's just be honest. I tell people, I'm like, listen, there's a lot of people that I brought onto the team. Like when I fired those 3 people a year ago, I was like, they're probably gonna do great somewhere else. I was like, I just don't tolerate that shit here. I'm not even saying I don't like them as people. I'm just saying like that doesn't work for this team. So if you think about that, when we were talking about the inverse of your value, creating the value, it's like also look at what you hate and what you fire people for. The opposite is probably why you keep people and hire people. So bottom line, these should be non-negotiables. You do not look in gray. You don't like toe the line. It's just like, if you cannot stand by them and you can't make a statement out of them, then they're not real. Something that I've always done when somebody really violates a value in the company, I don't love doing it, by the way. Like I'm not a masochist and I don't like being the authoritative leader. My team knows that, but I care a lot about protecting our culture is when somebody really violates a value and other people see it, I make a statement out of it. So it's not like I say why I fired them, but I do list all the reasons I might fire somebody that are related to that incident so that my team knows I am protecting our culture right now. I might not be able to give you details and tell you exactly why, but I can tell you that I'm doing this because it's best for this entire group. My job is to uphold the culture. I have to set the line. If I see people doing that shit and I don't draw the line, then who else is going to? Nobody. And I don't want to be permissive. So going into the 20, right? We talked about the 80, which is the values and making sure that you hire and fire and promote for them. The 20 is what we call like the recognition flywheel. Okay. So this is people repeat what gets reinforced, right? If you want more of a behavior, reinforce it more. If you want to lessen a behavior, ignore it. Don't reinforce it. Literally, like think about this, right? If you guys, lots of you are parents, right? If your child keeps coming up to you and they keep asking you a question when you're with your friends and it's rude and you say, hey, I'm with my friends, like, can you please come back another time? And so they walk away. And then they come back and they do it again. You say, hey, and then eventually what happens, I remember this when I was a kid, they just start ignoring you. And I remember my mom would do that and then I'd be like, oh, fuck it, I just give up, right? So that is how you extinguish a behavior. How do you reinforce a behavior? If every time I come up for my mother and I ask her for a hug, she gives me a hug, right? Well, then I'm going to come and ask for more hugs. And so you, how do I put this? If you only reward results, you get results without values. But if you reward people adhering to the values, you will get results and values. So the purpose of a recognition system is not just to reward output from a team, it's to reward how they got the output and getting it while sticking with the values. That's the point. There's a lot of people who can do this, they can cheat on a test, they can lie, they can fudge their numbers, but it's not the same as the person who abides by all the values and still gets the outcome. And so when you think about the recognition system, I put some things on here that we do as a company. And I want you guys to, write down like daily recognition, weekly celebration, monthly spotlight, quarterly awards, annual honors. Like what are the things that you're highlighting for your team, rewarding, clapping for, snapping for, slacking about, rewarding in public, giving shout outs for. Those are the things that you're going to get repeated. And so the reason I like this flywheel is because I want to remind us that we're not trying to just praise results. We're trying to praise behaviors that lead to results, right? It's like one of my favorite quotes is successful behaviors precede success. So in order to succeed, you need to exhibit successful behaviors first. So let's reward successful behaviors and then the outcomes will take care of themselves. That's how I think about it. So daily recognition, right? We have a Slack channel for the company. It's just constant shout outs. And so people are saying like this person exhibited competitive greatness. Here's what they did today, right? I think I read 2 this morning. It's like they're always coming in. People love that channel. And it's a self-propelling thing because people write in it, it feels good to write in it, and it feels good to receive it. The next thing we do is we have the all hands that we do where it's like a weekly celebration, right? And this is where teammates can call out, anywhere from 1 to 3. Some people go crazy and do like 8. We try to temper that down because it takes 2 hours of shout outs. And then the value that person demonstrated, right? And so it's really like, Who is it? What value did they demonstrate? We're doing that on a weekly meeting. Some people get public recognition when they're on a call. It feels really good. And then everyone's typing in the chat, shouting them out, just like we are on this Zoom chat. Then we have monthly spotlight. So it's essentially like the strategic team. That's why I call it my leadership team. We vote who's the MVP, and then we share it company-wide, which also is the same as we do on quarterly, which is the MVP award, right? It's like who's the most valuable player, who exhibited the core values the most. Last quarter, we did 3 people for each core value. And then we also tell people, hey, here's people who were voted that didn't win, because I want as many people as possible to see that their behavior doesn't go unnoticed. And then we have annual, which is at our annual event as a company. It's like we're going to do values awards. Who exhibited this value the most for the entire year? Now, notice what I don't have on this recognition flywheel. I actually don't recognize who drove the most revenue. I don't recognize who got the most results. I don't recognize any of that in the company. It gets recognized by what people get paid. It gets recognized by their KPIs and by their peers. But when I'm in front of the entire company, I'm recognizing the process and the behaviors, not the results. So I'm curious if you guys have something like this. If you don't, I highly recommend thinking about it like this. If you want to drive winning as a team, you have to start with incentivizing winning behavior. And hopefully, your values are going to create winning behavior. Great. Now, the last piece to this for the culture section is your vision. Now, your vision is your retention tool. Okay, now why is that? Because your vision must be so big that everybody else can fit their personal visions for themselves inside of it. Okay, so if your vision is like grow revenue, do not be surprised when you cannot attract or retain great talent, because they likely want to go to somebody with a bigger mission. Okay, this is the thing that's like, I have seen it time and time again. A players don't come and they don't stay for money. Now there's a minimum threshold that has to be met for sure, but like that's not why they're there. They stay for meaning. And when I started Gym Launch, I remember our mission was like, help gym owners grow revenue. It was literally like the most basic bland thing. And that is not a vision. That is like a service description of the business that you put and like you submit to the IRS. We shifted and we made our vision and our mission is to bring the gym industry from its knees to its feet. Everything changed for us. Like seriously. Suddenly we weren't just like selling gym frameworks. We were leading a movement. And people wanted to be a part of that movement. It was really, really cool to see. I mean, I remember a specific phone call with an employee. Her name was Jennifer, and she was on the customer service team. And I remember she got on the weekly meeting and she was like, I'm so sorry I was late. I was on a call for 3 hours with this new client. And I was like, well, what happened? She's like, well, I called him to say like, hey, your first payment didn't go through. And like, I just wanted to see, like, do we need to push it? Do we need to do this? Whatever it is, right? And he answered and he was like, oh, something, blah, blah. And then he was like, oh my God. He pulled up to his gym. The lights were off. Why were the lights off? Because his electricity got shut off because he couldn't afford to keep it on because he hadn't been able to make any money that last month. And he had just signed up with us. You know what she did? She told our top producing sales guy, you know what he did? He paid the guy. He gave him $2,000 to pay all his bills so that he could do our program and put up the first $1,000 for a deposit. He ended up being one of our top performing clients. But like if our vision had been like, hey, help them grow revenue, do we think that they would have done that? But like literally in that moment, that person is on their knees. And it's like the team's like, we have to bring them up to their feet. So I want you to think about your vision. It's not just strategy, it is a talent magnet. Okay, so the bigger and the more clear your vision is, the easier it is to attract people to something that matters. And if you can't articulate the vision, right, and make people say, oh, I want to be a part of that, then you don't have a vision. You might have a business plan, you might have, like a description for your services, but it's not the same thing. And something that me and Sharon like to say is we're like, nobody gives a fuck about your EBITDA. It's like if your vision is like make 50 million in EBITDA, it's like nobody gives a fuck about that but you. And so that is not a vision. So I want you guys to think through the last piece of this, which is like, what is your vision? Now, if you're asking, you're like, well, okay, Layla, well, like, what's a vision? It's not just the statement, right? There's a statement, but then you describe what that looks like, right? So like something that Alex and I and Sharon all talked about is like we want to be the Disney of business, right? We want people to enter a universe with acquisition.com. Eventually, we want to have all of the things that we can provide to them so that if a business enters our universe, they have payment processing, they have education, they have staff training, they have that. Think about that, right? That's something that I'm sure as I say it, you can visualize what that looks like, right? That's what you want. You want something that's tangible that people can visualize. So write down, do you need to upgrade your vision, right, or not? And again, I want you to understand, your vision is your sales pitch to people joining your team. So if you're not incentivized enough by what I've just been saying, like that is what it is for you. It is a sales pitch. If you have a shitty pitch and you don't know why you can't get people, that's why you can't get people. Great. So we have culture as a system. We've just finished this first part. Okay. You have to build your culture stack. Okay. We start with the behaviors, then we add in the systems, create our enforcement matrix, design our recognition flywheel, and then articulate our vision. Right? This is how you operate daily and uphold your culture. This is one of the 5 systems to people. Right? Now, these are things that you guys, you can start this Monday. You can start stuff so easily to enforce these things. Like I said, it's simple. It's just like, do you have the wherewithal and the emotional resilience to be uncomfortable enforcing these things? That's most of it. The rest of it's pretty easy. So let's do a couple questions in the chat. I want to have your questions on culture as a system and hear what you guys think. The first question, the most generic question of all time. How do you get your team to work that hard? Work harder, for one. The second is reward hard work. You know what I mean? Like one of our values is competitive greatness. Now, why is that? This is not for everybody, guys. And I'm very upfront with people about that. I'm like, listen, if you're like at a phase in your life where you're trying to slow down, I was like, this is not the company to be at. And that's okay. Like, I don't have a problem with that. I'm just real about it. The second piece, so I would say like on the front end, I'm very upfront about the work and how hard people work in our company and what our expectations are. The second piece is that we reward it, right? A lot of people are like, oh, that's toxic if you're rewarding. It's not toxic if you're upfront about it. It's not toxic if it's what people come here to do. Like, is it toxic when the winning NBA team is training at 4 a.m. and then again at 6 p.m. and then all day? No, because they signed up for it. They wanted it. They said, I want to be on a winning team. So what I tell people is if you want to be a winning team and you want to be on a winning team, then this is a great place to work. If you don't want to be on a winning team, then don't work here. And then we reward that. Hey, I saw so-and-so. You stayed late and you did this till 12 p.m. to get things done because of this and that. Like, amazing. I saw you here at 4 a.m. You guys see Alex's stories? Like, he's here at 4 a.m. Julian was here at 4 a.m. Some other people on this team were here at 4 a.m. Right? It's rewarded. Some places, they shy past that. Like, oh, I don't want to make people feel like they have to be here at 4. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, who doesn't want recognition for working hard? And so then people work harder. That's the best thing I can say about it. I think you can't be shy about what you want. And like, you know, me and Alex, like neither of us want to be shy about who we are and how we like to operate in a business. Like, I like working hard. I like working on people who work hard. I don't like working with people who don't work hard. So I don't want them in my business. Like, it's as simple as that. Second question, how do you determine whether to invest in developing someone or not? The first question you have to ask yourself when you're like, should I invest in developing this person is, it's a couple questions. So one, what skills do they lack? And then the question is, should I have hired for those skills? Or are those skills that I have agreed to train on this team and to coach people on? That's the first question you have to understand is like, did you hire incorrectly? Or did you hire them and then just not realize how much work it was going to be to coach them up on that thing? Now, if you're like, okay, well, I hired incorrectly, that's unfortunate. And then you have to ask yourself, is it worth trying to coach one person up when the rest of the people on the team have the skill? Honestly, probably not. The next question you have to ask yourself is, okay, I did agree that I'm going to train these skills. Do I have the skill to train those skills? Yes. Do I have the time? No. Ooh, does somebody have the time and the skill? No. Maybe my philosophy's wrong. If I do have the time and I do have the skill, is it worth my time? Could I get a bigger return for the business and the team if I focus my energy somewhere else. For me, as somebody who I invest and like to train people heavily, this has been one of the hardest areas I've had to pull back because as CEO, you cannot spend your whole time training people. In fact, you actually shouldn't be the one training people most of the time. Now, when you're small, you kind of have to. But as it grows, you don't have time to do that anymore. So you have to find other people to train people. But if it's even beyond their skill set, sometimes what I say is like, is this within scope? They're like, well, they're just, they have the skill, but, they're kind of an asshole. I'm like, yeah, my job is not to make you nice. I'm not a fucking therapist. What are we doing over here? You know what I'm saying? Out of scope. So walk yourself through that framework because you really have to understand, is it within your scope? Is it worth your time? And is it what you signed up for? Now, any one of these things, still your problem that you got to deal with, right? For whatever reason, you have to exit somebody in a company, it's almost always your fault, right? Like you either hired incorrectly, you had incorrect expectations, blah, blah, blah. Every once in a while, you get someone that slips through that just totally fucking fooled you. It's happened to me a couple times. But most of the time, it's our fault. And that's okay. We learn from it. We are not perfect. This is the imperfection of business, but we do need to course correct. Next question. How do you make people show up to practice over game day? You reward practice as much or more than game day. So like I said, like with that recognition system, I'm not recognizing game day. I am recognizing practice. I'm recognizing small behaviors that happen every day. Like people showing up early, people staying late, people helping another teammate out. Those aren't things that are like, that's not like a win. That's not like a big event. That's like a very small thing. Recognizing when someone cleans the kitchen, puts a plate away, when somebody stays long on a client call, when somebody, flies the portfolio company out and is helping the whole team in person without anyone asking. Like, that's all stuff that I want to reward. It's not like it was the big win. So again, it's just like you have to reward the process, not the outcome. A lot of people reward the outcomes because they're too afraid to reward the process because they don't actually want to uphold their culture because they're afraid of the discomfort that comes when somebody violates their culture and then they know that I shouldn't tolerate this. And then that's an emotional problem, not a practical problem. Last one I'm going to take. How do you balance flexibility for team members with a culture of excellence? It's a good question. I think that if somebody shows loyalty, the more loyalty somebody shows and the more adherence to behaviors they show, the more flexibility they get. So if I have somebody on the team who constantly upholds the values, is a great fit, helps the team, always really performs, and then they're going through a rough spot. Like they've got some family stuff going on, maybe something with their marriage, and like they're kind of slipping. I'm super flexible. I mean, I look at it like any relationship, which is like any relationship, you always aim to be 50-50, but there's going to be seasons where it's 80-20, 60-40 in either direction. And so sometimes I'm like, okay, this is just a 60-40. I had a conversation with two teammates within the last 3 weeks where it's like, because of personal reasons, they feel like they can't be like all in for the next, couple months. And I was like, that's okay. I'm patient. I can wait. You can be all in next quarter. You can be all in the spring. But like, you need to take this time right now. And I'm not going to just like ghost. Like, we're here for you. Like, you have invested a lot of time. You've been very loyal. You've tried very hard. I've seen the patterns that lead to success enough. I've seen your patterns, right? And so that's really what you want to think about. Are there patterns, ones that are, I would say, worse than everybody else on the team? Or are they in line and better than other people on the team? And so the more consistency you see with teammates, the more flexibility you give. Great. Okay, cool. We're going to go to the next section. And then after that section, we'll take a short break and then we'll come back. My favorite section. Okay. The founder as the capacity ceiling. Okay. If you have a perfect culture and a broken founder, then you have at most like a $10 million ceiling. And I will say this is much more relevant the smaller you are as a business. So like, please don't take offense, but it is true. Section 1, we talk about the culture system. This section is about you and about all of you on this call because every company will cap at the founder's personal capacity to lead the company. Okay, so what does that mean? Every company plateaus at different points. It will be at the exact level of that founder's emotional capacity, decision-making ability, leadership skill, self-awareness. Like those are the most common things that cap a founder and then by consequence cap a company. So what happens, right, is you have the team potential. You have all these teammates and they have all these capabilities and they're really talented, right? And then you have the operational load, which is all the processes and decisions that happen around the team. So it's like you have teammates, you have all this connective tissue, which is the operations. And then what comes after the operations is decision making. And as the founder, you become, in many situations, the single decision bottleneck. And then what happens? Execution output. It becomes constrained. Workflows start getting constrained because you're bottlenecking the system. They're moving, but they can't get any more out of the system. And so then the system starts backing up. And then output goes down. Then what happens is business growth gets limited. Expansion is capped by you. Drop a 1 in the chat if you've ever felt this way or you feel this way right now. It is the pattern I see in almost every stalled company, okay? You hit 1 million because you learn how to sell. You stall at 3 million because you learn how to delegate, but you don't know what to do with your time after that. You hit 10 million because you learn how to hire people. You're stuck at 10 million because you didn't know how to hire leaders. And then after 10 million, you get stuck because you don't know how to outsource decisions as they feel more and more important and you get more and more nervous outsourcing them. The business is not broken. You are the ceiling of your business. This is like what I spend all of my time thinking about. But it's great fucking news because if you are the ceiling, this is the easiest thing that you have the most control over to fix, right? If you're the problem, you're also the solution. So I will tell you guys about the conversation I had with one of our portfolio CEOs. This person, we engaged with their company about 5 years ago. And I was on a call with this guy. He's a great operator. He had a solid business. But they were stuck at like 10 million for 2 years. And he kept saying, what should I change? Is it the team? Is it the strategy? Is it the structure? And I was so sick of, every time I tried to tell him, it's you, I was being a little polite because I'm like, everyone responds differently. And he had a little bit of an ego. And one day I think I was just impatient that day and on one. And I was like, no, it's you. You're the reason you're not at 100 million yet. It's just you. And he was I just remember, it was dead fucking silence. We're on a call. I was at the gym at the time. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, dude, you're still operating this business like you're a $5 million founder. You're in every decision. You're the smartest person in every room because you won't hire people smarter than you. I send them to you and you won't hire them. I tell you, I would hire this person in my business that's huge compared to yours and you don't even want them. You say you want to scale, but you will not let go of control. You're the fucking bottleneck. In fact, I told him, I was like, I actually think you'd benefit from therapy more than talking to me every day. First, he got defensive and he was like, what the fuck? And then it was it just dropped. And he was like, okay, who do I need to become? That is the question that most people never ask, right? They ask, what does the business need to become? What does the team need to become? But then they never ask who I need to become. What did he do? He spent 6 months rebuilding himself. He really did. He worked so hard on himself. He hired a COO who was smarter than him. He stopped attending all the meetings. He stopped thinking in terms of quarters and months and short term. He started thinking in terms of years. And then 24 months later, that company was a $100 million company. And the only reason is because he changed. That's it. Your company will never outgrow your personal operating system, bar none. Now, you can get your company pretty big under a shitty operating system personally. Some people, depending on your pain tolerance. I have a high pain tolerance. I got my company to a pretty big size based on a not great personal operating system, 6-7 years ago. And then I realized, I was like, oh, I can, but I don't want to, right? And then I was like, I have to upgrade my personal operating system. A lot of people are stuck here. And the question is, who do I need to become, right? A lot of the times what it is that the skills that got you to where you are, doing all the work, solving all the problems, being the smartest person in the room, moving fast, saying yes to opportunities, and having all the answers. Those are not the skills that you need now, which is a very weird place to be in. And guys, it's going to happen over and over in your business. I'm at that point in this last year. I've had to say, oh, the skills that got me here no longer get me there. And then you start from zero again. And it feels shitty to start at zero. So a lot of people stay stuck where they are rather than say, I need to have a completely new set of skills now, which sucks. I'm not good at it. You need to build systems. You need to teach people to solve problems. Hire people smarter than you. Move with intention, not reaction. Protect your strategic focus to grow the business and ask better questions. The traits that make you successful up until a point are exactly what keep you stuck. But most people don't want to think about that. They don't want to think about learning all these new things because it feels like, well, this is just who I am. No, your personality is a set of skills. You can learn new skills. I was not the same person 10 years ago. I didn't even want to speak in a meeting, let alone like on a camera in front. I would have been like sweating bullets in front of this fucking room right now. I remember the point I got to where I said, like, you need to be able to speak in rooms. I was like, you need to be like captivating and have influence. And I was like, fuck, that's like never who I've been in my entire life. I called myself an introvert. I was like, I'm an introvert. I like being alone. I don't like talking to people, you know? And now I feel like people would be like, wait, seriously? That's how I felt though. And so this is the trap. It's like what got you to this point is not going to get you to the next point. In the early stages of the business, it's like speed is how you survive. You move fast, you make these gut calls, you do the work yourself, and all works really well until it doesn't. And all of you on here, you have different levels of skill. Some people can make it all the way to multiple 8 figures with this, right? I did. Some of you can do it. You're probably doing it right now. Some of you can't. Some of you get stuck at 1 million, 2 million. But the thing is, beyond a few million, speed without structure is complete chaos for a business. And when you do all the work yourself, you become the bottleneck, and having all the answers steals the team's ability to think, and they feel underutilized, and then you don't attract A players. So the skill gap is not necessarily just learning new skills, it's unlearning the old ones, stopping being the operator of your business and starting to become the architect of your business. The hardest part also is that your team probably knows that you're in over your head, but they're not going to tell you. They'll just leave. I cannot tell you how many people with our portfolio company specifically, I had 2 where the operators just wouldn't get past this point. Their teams reached out to me and said, I want you to know why I'm really leaving. They're like, they're just not able to grow. I can think of my jobs I left. 2 jobs that I left where I really admired that leader. The leader wasn't growing. I was like, dude, he's just not going to get to the next level. And so like, I also want you guys to know, nobody's ever going to tell you this. You're just going to see it happen in your business. They're just going to leave. And that's going to suck. But if people are leaving, you can't really figure out why. Number 1 reason, confidence in the leader. If people don't think you can take them to the championships, why would they stay? Okay, so I want you guys to write this down. Where are you the ceiling? What decision do you make that your team should be making? What skill do you lack that is slowing growth? Right? What behavior do you model that you would fire somebody else for? These are all things that you want to ask. So I want you guys to write these down. If you would share in the chat, I think that'd be really helpful for people to see. So decision that you make that your team should be making. Think about the decisions that you've made in the last 7 days, maybe the last month, big decisions. Should you be making those decisions? Are they really big decisions? Were they about the strategy and the direction of the business, or were they about a department? Were they about a landing page, sales, a product offering, a package? You know, what skill do you lack that's slowing down growth? What are you not able to do that if you could do would grow your company faster? Are you not learning AI? Are you not keeping up with it? Are you not able to think strategically? Are you not able to get yourself out of the weeds? Are you not able to elevate above the business to architect it? What behavior do you model that you'd fire somebody else for? Do you not trust people? Are you not honest? These are all things to think about. I appreciate you guys dropping everything in the chat. None of us are perfect. We all fuck shit up all the time. We are imperfect people trying to build imperfect businesses, as I like to think about it. But like self-awareness is the key to making sure that we don't stall it. Great. I appreciate you guys actually writing this down. Okay, so now we're gonna go through a little exercise I've taken all my leaders through in my companies, which is, I don't know how many of you have heard of John Wooden, probably a lot of you. He won 10 NCAA titles in 12 years. The guy never talked about winning. This is why I like all of his books so much. He doesn't talk about winning. He only talks about building the character that leads to winning, that makes winning inevitable. That's it. So he coached basketball at UCLA, but he didn't even coach plays. He spent much of his time coaching traits, character traits, because he believed that performance is built on character, and character is built in layers sequentially. So for example, you can't have confidence without having skill. You can't have skill without conditioning yourself, and you can't have conditioning without having self-control. The same goes for us as founders. So you can't lead with poise if you haven't developed self-control. You can't build loyalty in your team if you haven't shown loyalty to them, and you can't demand competitive greatness if you don't model it. So this pyramid we're going to walk through. I want you guys to get out whatever you use, your AI note taker. We're going to walk through this together. It's how you diagnose where you are stuck and what trait you need to build next. I've done this with myself countless times. Seriously, I really do. I remember there was a point where I was like, I don't have poise. I couldn't like show up cool, calm, and collected with people. Now I would say it's like one of my top skills. Most people try to skip to the top of the pyramid. They want the poise, they want the confidence, but you have to build the base first. So that's what we're going to talk through. I want you guys to just rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5 on each of these things. 1 means you don't have it at all. 5 means you're fucking great. You've got all of it. No improvement needed, right? So this is the pyramid of success. At the top, you'll see competitive greatness. Where'd I get that from? Where'd he get that from? Huh? Who knows? I'm just kidding. He's way older. So he says success is peace of mind, which is a direct result of the self-satisfaction knowing you did your best to become the best that you are capable of being. Okay, and I just love this definition. I love everything about this. So let's walk through it. What's the foundation? The foundation is intentional effort and genuine belief, which we call industriousness and enthusiasm. Okay, what's industriousness? This is not busyness. This is not hustle. Ooh, I hate that word. It's full mental engagement towards progress. So it's the difference between 12 hours of just doing busy work and 12 hours of mastering something, of learning, of engaging. Now, enthusiasm on the other end, right? These are the 2 corners of the pyramid. It's not fake positivity. It is genuine love for the mission and the work that you're doing. Because this is the question, if you don't believe in it, why would your team? Seriously, it's like, I don't know if my team has enough confidence in this company. It's like, maybe you don't have enough confidence, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Every time that I look at my team and I'm like, they should be more excited about this. I'm like, you should be more excited about this. I don't know if any of you have ever read Byron Katie's book, but that book just basically everything you think about everyone else is what you think about yourself. So anytime you think something about your team, it's just what you think about yourself. And if you go through this book, it's really, it's a great book. Yeah. So I use that often with myself when I'm like having a thought about my team and I'm like, oh, I'm having a thought about myself. Okay. So industriousness, enthusiasm, this is the foundation. Okay. Without it, nothing else works. Industriousness, not the same as working hard. Okay. It is progress. It's able to move something important forward. A lot of you work 80 hours, 100 hours a week. You wear it like a badge and you don't get your business anywhere. Guys, when I say I like people working hard here, I don't like them working hard on fucking tasks and putting out fires and doing little minute work. I actually think that's avoidance. It is avoidance that's disguised as work. But industriousness is intentional. It's doing the work that actually moves the business forward. So for example, every week when I'm planning my week, I look at and I ask myself, what is the most important 3 things I need to do this week? And then I look at my calendar and my to-do list. And I see all these other fucking things that are, it's endless. It's usually like I can write down 50 things every Sunday usually. And I'm like, oh my God, there's so many things. And I'm like, but I have to just blind myself to these and say, focus on these 3. And then I text my assistants, they know this, we do this in a planning. I say, these are my 3 most important things. We have to plan around all this stuff. So like, move this is not important, move this to another week, got to do this. Like, I don't give a fuck anymore. I used to be a Nazi about my calendar. I was like, no, we can't move stuff. I don't want to piss people off. And I'm like, are you kidding me? My time is the most important thing to this business. If I'm not using my time to work on the most important thing, then what am I doing? Jack shit, right? And so don't try to just put out fires. Don't try to like, sometimes what you have to do is be like, let the fire burn. If I just focus on this important thing over here, that fire is irrelevant in a month. Seriously. Now, enthusiasm, on the other hand, right? That is not the like woo-woo fake energy, like, oh my God, guys, I'm so excited for the company. All like that's bullshit. Okay. It is true belief. Like, do you genuinely believe in what you're building? Would you suffer for it? Is it worth the pain? Or are you just chasing money? Like exit, cash. Again, there's nothing wrong with that, but I will say your team can tell the difference. And most of them, if you are chasing money, cash, hire people who want that same thing. I'll put it that way. On the other hand, if that's not what you're chasing, you want to build something big, you want to have a great business, hire people who want that. Now, if you're industrious, but you lack enthusiasm, people will call you a robot. I can tell you, Kale from Gym Launch, they called him Robo Kale And then we had the conversation. I was like, enthusiasm, we need enthusiasm. Because I was like, we don't want robo-kale. Effort with belief, that is the foundation of being a great leader. Okay, so it's not about the tasks you do and the amount of things and the volume of work. It's about doing the important work and being genuinely excited about it while you do it. I was waiting for the screen to click, and then I realized I have the clicker. That's not the clicker, that's the mic. Great. Now, the second level. Okay, guys, actually going back. Rate yourselves. Scale of 1 to 5. Industriousness, enthusiasm. Great. 1, you suck. 5, you don't even need to improve. You're better than me. Okay. Next level. Call this trust before performance. So we have 3 pieces here. Friendship, loyalty, cooperation. Okay? Friendship. Right? We think about that. It doesn't mean that you're buddies with somebody. I think a lot of people get this wrong. They're like, Layla, I can't be friends with. Well, I didn't say you need to go to the bar and get drunk with them and have nefarious relationships. I said, like, do you see them as a human outside of work? Do you see them as a person before as an employee? I believe that loyalty means you invest in people, even when they're struggling, as long as they're aligned with the values and they invest in themselves. So I will show loyalty to people on my team when they're going through a hard time. Let me help you. What can I do? I will pull my resources, my network, whatever I can do to help them solve their personal problem. That is something I do. I was talking to someone earlier today about it. Last week, I was talking to somebody about it. I will do whatever I can do to help them as a person, not just as an employee. Right? And I do that because like loyalty is important to me. I want to exhibit it to get it back. Now, the second piece of this, right, is we look at cooperation. This means like you don't treat people like cogs. It means that you're willing to collaborate with people. I think a lot of people think cooperation, and they think that that means like people do what I say. They cooperate with what I've told them to do. No, it means you collaborate. You ask for all their input and then present back what you think the best course is. Working with your team, not through your team or around your team. Cooperation means you work with them. You are a team. Just because you're the leader doesn't mean you need to go around and above. You can work with them. You can ask for their input. One of my favorite things to do every quarter is I have my team fill out this survey and I say, what would you do if you were CEO? That's the third question I ask. And guys, I read every single person's responses through and through. And I'll ask questions. I'll genuinely be like, hey, can you get on a call? Hey, can I text you about this? I'll voicemail them, whatever it might be, to understand if there's one that I'm really interested in. I'm like, what does this mean? How would I do this? How would you see that showing up? In my opinion, that's like how I'm working with my team because I'm there to serve them as their leader. I'm not trying to work around them or above them or ignore them. At the end of the day, what I believe this foundation does is it helps you become the type of person people are loyal to. Your best people are not going to be loyal just to your company. They're loyal to the leader. And that is earned through your action, not through what you say to them. You show loyalty towards them. You invest in them and genuinely respect and care for them as a person. And you work with them. It's like, I don't even like using the word employees because it's team. You are building a team. Think about it like if you were a sports coach. This is why I love studying sports in churches. Think about it like if you were a sports coach and this is your team. You know, would you act like it's a transaction? Would you never want to do anything fun with them? Would you speak to them in a way like you're better than them or like you've got to hide stuff from them? Like, no, you would talk to them like a human. You would invest in them. So after you have industriousness and enthusiasm, you have these 3 pieces. So I want you to rate yourself from 1 to 5. Friendship. Genuine respect and care for people on your team as a human, not just as a human resource. 2, loyalty. Are you committed to your people, not just the outcomes they give you? And 3, cooperation. Do you work with your team, not around and above your team? Give you guys a second to write that down. Cool. Okay, great. Let's go to composure under pressure. This is the next layer. We've got 4 pieces: self-control, alertness, initiative, intentness. Okay, this separates an amateur from a professional, in my opinion. Like when I look at this level, this is like, if you master this, people are like, they're professional. Now, why is that? First one, self-control. the difference between responding and reacting. Okay, your team watches how you handle bad news and bad shit happening. So if you panic publicly, they panic privately and publicly. Now, this is the piece here. I think that leadership is not about having all the answers. It's about staying calm and focused and confident when you don't have them. So self-control. I would also say that another way that you could think about self-control is discipline over your emotion. How able are you to regulate your emotions? Does your team know that you're emotional? Something I was talking with my therapist about the other day is I was like, it's interesting because like a lot of people will be like, yeah, you're just like a robot. This, and I was like, but I'm so emotional inside. I have so many emotions. And she was like, yeah, that's called emotional regulation. Like you don't have to vomit them all over people. It's like you can have them and still continue to act in a way that's socially acceptable, right? So the first one we think about is self-control, right? If you think about being a great leader, you want to be steady. It's like when you're thinking about yourself as the captain of the ship. It's like the captain's like this, steering the ship. It's like nobody feels good about that. They're like, fuck, are we gonna hit a rock? I'm sick. Am I gonna throw up? Versus like, oh, I feel good. Like the water's rough, but their sailing is gonna get us through it, and it's gonna feel good even though it's not looking good out there. Self-control. Alertness. What is that? Pattern recognition, constant observation. Do you know as much as what's happening in the business as your team? Seriously. Great founders see those problems before anybody else in the team. Average founders are always surprised by them. So if you're constantly firefighting, you are not alert, you are reactive. So it's being attuned with your business. It's being alert, catching onto cues, what people say, how people show up in meetings, little things like that, right? So for example, I have like 3 people on the team that will always like message me little things like, oh yeah, well, gotta, figure that department out. And I'm like, oh, you mean X, Y, and Z and this and that? Oh, here's what I'm doing for that. And then they're like, oh shit, didn't know you even were aware of that. I'm like, yes, I'm working on it already with this person and have this entire plan. And then they're like, oh fuck, great. And it's like, they always seem to be surprised, but I always know that those 3 people message me because they want to hear the plan. And they're also like, does she still know what's happening? I'm like, oh yeah, I still know. I'm alert. Next piece, initiative. Okay, this means that your team acts like owners. Okay, so if you have to tell people what to do every day, you have trained people to be dependent, not to take ownership. So, do you take initiative? And do you teach people to take initiative in your company? Do you teach them to take action without asking you? That is a skill. And it's something that people will say, like, oh, that person just never does anything without me telling them. It's like, well, you've trained them that way. We train people how to interact with us. You know what I mean? And I think like great examples are constantly, for me and Alex, are of each other because we train people completely differently. And so people treat us completely differently in the company because we train them in different ways. People would never speak to us. They don't speak to us the same way because we don't respond the same way, right? It's been really helpful to have a partner where you can kind of see that because you're like, oh yeah, okay, I could train that too. The last one's intentness. That is focus, okay, is relentless focus on the goal despite the obstacles. Okay, so this is where you say no to good opportunities because they're not the right opportunities for you. So if you're distracted, if you're not intentional, if you don't have intent, your team also does that. Like if you have whiplash of opportunities, AI, robots, Elon, the market, economy, government, your team is the same way. This layer is all about discipline. Because what do all these things need? They need discipline to keep them. That is how you get composure under pressure. So please write these out. We're going to go 1 to 5. 1, you have none of it, undisciplined. And 5 is like, you're amazing. We got some lower scores on this one. I appreciate the honesty. Cool. Okay, so this is a layer that we're starting to get a little stuck at. That's good. That's good to know. This is great. This is also the one we have the most control over, which is why this is fucking great. It's amazing. Cool. Okay. I was gonna say, my little dwarf, please. I'm the dwarf with the clicker. Great. Okay, so on top of this layer, we have staying fit technically, mentally, and morally. It's like, okay, I think about myself as a business athlete. Just because I'm not playing sports doesn't mean I'm not an athlete. I'm an athlete of business. I think you guys should think about yourselves the same way. Okay, so how do you stay fit? There's 3 pieces to this that help you stay fit as a CEO and a founder. You've got condition, skill, and team spirit. Okay, condition is not just physical, though I will say that helps because I do not feel good if I'm not physically fit in some way. It is mental stamina. If you can't think clearly by 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. because you're fried, you are not conditioned at the level that your business requires. If you are not mentally alert to lead a presentation, to make decisions at 10 a.m. or at 11 a.m., right? Then that's something that we need to fix. We need conditioning in here. Now, there's 2 parts to conditioning, right? There's working hard and there's resting. Okay? For a lot of you, you've got the work hard button. I can see it in the chat and I can see it by how you talk. You don't have the rest button. Okay, would you tell a pro athlete that rest is for ninnies? You know what? Rest is for pussies. It's for pussies. People who don't have a backbone. They're just weak, right? Would you ever tell that to like one of the greatest athletes of all time when they're taking a nap, when they're resting, when they're getting a massage? Like rest isn't optional. It is strategic. At some point, also, your judgment is more important than your output. So your ability to make good decisions because you've rested, that doesn't just mean sleep, guys. That means resting your mind, doing fun things, getting your mind off of the big problems so it can be more creative, right? Resting your body, taking a day off. Like all of those things help you condition yourself. I just think of myself, and by the way, this is the hardest one for me. I'm really lucky. My first mentor was like, you must take Sundays off. And he was like, I need you to like, I'm going to watch. He's like, you better not be in the fucking business on Sundays. And so like, I felt like I was being watched like a hawk. So I learned to take Sundays off. And then what I would notice is that what would happen is that I would build back this desire to come back to work Monday. But when you're just constantly like, it's almost like when you work out every day. If I did legs every day, right? Maybe Alex, right? If you do legs every day, you're hitting them hard every day. Every day you show up to the gym, you're like, fuck, I gotta do legs again. Like, I'm so tired. They're sore. I don't yearn to do legs. I don't have a thirst or a desire to do legs because I haven't rested my legs. Versus if I rest for a couple days, then I come back into the gym and I'm like, dude, I'm ready to hit it hard today. And then I'm probably going to get more out of those sets that day because I can push that much harder. I can do that much more weight than I would have in the 3 days cumulative when I did them in a row. You got to think about yourself the same way. This is the hardest part in a founder's transition. I can tell you, I have paid in the last year some of the best coaches that coach literally the top CEOs in the world, top founders in the world. And they were like, Layla, all the things in the world don't fucking matter. It all comes down to this pyramid, you, and your ability to unlearn these things. And for me, one of the biggest ones was rest. So I know it is for a lot of people. Second piece of this is skill. Now, this one is more dependent on the stage of your business, right? The skills you need at $1 million in terms of like sales or marketing or output, they're different from 10 million, which is like leadership and systems. So they're different from 50 million, which is like vision and capital allocation. But how do you keep this one going? Most people stop the moment that they succeed. And that's when they start dying. There's a quote I remember by Craig Groeschel. I heard it like 8-9 years ago when he was just coming up, and it was like, nothing fails like success. If you're not constantly getting new skills, it's like we get all these skills to start a business, and then it's like all of a sudden it's like we just kind of ride off those skills. And then it's like, well, shit, we need new skills to keep the business growing, right? It's like I know a lot of people who are at like 50 million or 100 million. They like haven't read a book in 3 years. They haven't talked to a mentor. They haven't talked to anybody. It's like they just keep going off of what has been working for them. They haven't experimented. And then they're like, why do I feel stuck? And I'm like, well, maybe you should learn some shit. And then the last piece of this is team spirit. Now, what is that? I call it ego death. Okay. Can you celebrate when someone on your team gets credit for your idea? Genuinely. Because if not, you will cap your company, your team, your leadership at your own performance ceiling. Because when you have to be the hero, you aren't able to build and attract heroes. This is a big one for people. If you relate to this, drop a one in the chat. Like I would say founders tend to be either very insecure or they have a big ego. It's one or the other usually. Some of you fall in the middle because you've done some work. I came from the insecure side. Alex comes from the ego side. Could you have guessed? And we've had to work on coming into the middle. I've gotten way more confident by, talking to him. He's gotten, less egotistical by being married to me. So it's great. We bring each other to the middle. But that being said, if you can't be genuinely happy for other people to win and for you to just like not get credit at all, you can't really be a leader. You haven't really earned the right. So like if you're constantly only celebrating your successes and wanting credit for your ideas, one, your team doesn't look at you as a leader. And two, other people from the outside aren't going to either. So these three together make up the next level, which is staying fit. Okay, condition, skill, team spirit. Rate yourselves on a scale 1 to 5. You guys are already doing it great. Love it. I know. I'm the same way. It's funny. I remember when I stopped doing sales for our first business and I was like, fuck, I miss the like high that I would get doing sales. Because when you close a big deal and you're like, fuck yeah, I love that shit. And then I would watch other people do it. And then I was like, oh, I don't get to feel that anymore. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to get it through them. And so then I started celebrating their wins like it was mine. And now it's like the best feeling in the world. Great. Okay, cool. Let's go to this last layer. Okay, this is earned calm, earned poise, whatever you want to call it. Okay, and I love the quote that they had in John's book when it said this: if you can meet triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same, can you act the same when you win or lose? So this is the top of the pyramid. This is the one that you cannot fake your way. You have to earn all the other pieces in order to get this one, right? We have poise, confidence, and competitive greatness, right? Poise is actually not confidence. Poise is peace. Most people perform leadership. Like they think they need to have the answer, the energy, the vision always. They're like, I have to get out there and be this amazing leader. It's like, you feel like you have to like be fucking Santa Claus in front of your team, like pretending to be, I don't know, Santa Claus is the wrong one, but like you have to be Steve Jobs or Elon Musk or like some crazy leader with lots of energy and this and that. That's fake. Real poise being like, this is who I am. I don't know. We'll figure it out without losing your team's trust. It's essentially, it's like peace in knowing who you are and how you lead your team and knowing that that works. It's not like everybody else, but it works. And knowing that you're not going to know everything all the time. In fact, your job is not to know everything. It's to do the work to find things out and to find other people who also can help you figure it out. The second piece is confidence, right? And that is not arrogance. It's coming from full preparation, right? Knowing that you have done the reps, you've built the systems, you have competence. And now you know that you can handle what's coming. Because you're like, oh, I've gone through this before. I did this. I put in the work. I got here. If I got here, I can get there. All right. I like to say like confidence comes from competence, right? We've put in the work. And lastly, we have competitive greatness, which is what separates good from legendary leaders. It is wanting the hard thing because it's hard. So when crisis hits, lots of people shrink. Founders with competitive greatness lean in. They're like, ooh, I like that shit. I will tell you a good measure of this that I saw in my last company, COVID. When COVID hit, it taught me a lot about myself, taught me a lot about a lot of people. And I saw within our client base who had this and who didn't. Because the people that had it, our top performers, they leaned in. They were like, fuck yeah, I'm going to figure this shit out. New skills, new opportunity. We got this. People who didn't, they were like, oh my God, we're doomed. Like, I'm trying really hard, but it's just not, I'm going to shut down the business. It's like, was it really because of COVID? Because like they were exposed to all the same things as you, but like for some reason you had to shut down your business and these three people didn't. It's like, it's because you weren't competitively great. So this layer is earned, okay? Now you have to build the base, the top will come. But it's still good to rate ourselves because that will tell us what we have to work on. So we've got poise, we've got confidence, we've got competitive greatness. Let's just go through that 1 through 5. 1, you have none of it. We got to work on the base. 5, we're at the top. Great. 222, 345, 444, 123, 443, 2544. These numbers mean nothing. Good work. So what does this section mean as we think about this? Because what I want you guys to take away from this pyramid is like, I want you to go through those and look at where your bottom of the barrel is, like where are you like a 2, a 1, etc. And how can you work on that? How can that be the first thing you think about when you wake up in the morning? It's the first thing I think about. Like all I do to grow is I'm just like, what is the thing that is stopping me from growing my business? What skill do I not have or what habit do I have that I need to stop? And how do I think about that and focus on that first thing in the morning? Like it sounds ridiculous, but it's like, that's it. I think, it's just because everything's our fault. Your business is your fault. And that is also the best news that you could have. Because I think a lot of people hear it and then they get really defensive. But that is actually why we have so much opportunity, right? Because if the team is chaotic, you're probably modeling or allowing chaos. If the team lacks initiative, you're probably micromanaging and not empowering them. If the team doesn't trust each other, you probably haven't built trust with them. And so this section, I just wanted you guys to hear from me, like, we can't blame the market. We can't blame the talent pool. We can't blame our teams. The fastest path to change your business is changing yourself. And if you do, everything else will be easy, like so easy, right? I don't know, a lot of you have heard, whatever you resist persists. Like when we resist changing ourselves, that's going to be a problem in your business until you fix it. And it's like one of my favorite things about business. It's like such a great vehicle for personal growth because your business is showing you where you need to grow. But a lot of people see their business like, look at all these problems. It's like, wait, it's that Spider-Man. You're like, oh shit, it's me, right? This is where I want you guys to see, like, where is it you're looking in the mirror? What is it that you need to change? So the exercise. What is your company reflecting back to you? Okay, 2 things. Name a behavior that drives you up the fucking wall, something that somebody in your business does, or it's a pattern on a team, something like that, right? Now, name the version of that behavior that you have modeled for your team. I would love you guys to drop that in the chat. Because everything your team does is some version of something that you have done or you have modeled, right? If you lack urgency, if they lack urgency, maybe you let deadlines slide. If they avoid hard conversations, you probably sugarcoat things and avoid them as well. And if they're blaming other people, you're probably blaming other people. Great. Lack urgency. I think I'm nice, but I'm being too understanding at times. They don't follow the checklists. I don't follow my own checklists. Good. Assuming everything knows what I know, but I don't communicate. Letting tasks slide, not urgent on things. Yep, overly emotional or unclear. Great. This is all very good. Oftentimes, the behavior that you hate in your team is a distorted reflection of something that you're doing. So if you fix your behavior, they will fix themselves. I promise you. It's like creepy how well it works. It's like frightening. But it's caught, not taught. Great. So I want you guys to write this down. I think this is a great place for everyone to start. So if we looked at this, we have the personal operating system, right? So we diagnosed our ceilings, where we're keeping our business stuck. We assessed the pyramid, and then we did the mirror exercise. So I want you guys, this is probably the most important one, like out of all the frameworks. I know it's like everyone loves tactical stuff, but I don't know. I've never focused on I know all the tactical stuff. I can do the marketing and the sales and the this and that and the customer service and the IT and the technical. Like I don't talk about a lot of those because I don't think they're nearly as important as these things. You building your character, you building your personal skills. Like not only is it going to benefit your business, but like it's going to benefit you as a person. Like that is so important to you liking your life and keeping your business going because the biggest threat to your business is that you don't want to fucking do it anymore because you don't even like yourself running the business. And we don't want that. Cool. So let's take some questions and then we'll take a short, 10, 15-minute break. How do you slow your mind and stop thinking about the work while resting? All I can ever think about. It's a self-reinforcing loop. So if you look at human behavior, it's essentially like a thought loop. So if all you do is work all the time, then you train your brain to have work thoughts. I'm going to spell thoughts wrong on purpose, right? Now, if you interrupt that work and you rest, your brain actually freaks out. It's like, I don't understand. We're supposed to be working because why? Brains like predictability. So they want you to be predictable. So now what actually happens when you first start resting, when you've been used to working all the time, is that this actually amplifies. It goes up. So then these thoughts are louder than otherwise. And so what happens is because they get louder and you get annoyed, you say, fuck it, I'm just going to work. Because I don't know how to get these to stop. So what do you have to do is you actually just have to understand this. And I think understanding the science behind it is important, is that, okay, let's see, tolerant. So essentially what has to happen is that over time, event, so it's like resting, right? Rest. This is time tolerance. So your tolerance goes up the more you're exposed to something. So it's like over time, your tolerance for those thoughts increases. When your tolerance increases, those thoughts also automatically decrease. Why is that? Because your brain at first is freaked out. It's like, I don't know why this is happening. And then you stop it from happening, which then reinforces your brain's thought that, oh, this isn't a good thing. Now, when you keep doing it, despite having those thoughts will still be there in your brain the first few times you rest. If you keep resting, your tolerance goes up, your thoughts go down, and then eventually you won't have them at all. This happened to me. I remember the first few times, and like, I'm really grateful I stuck through it. My coach, he was like, dude, you're gonna think about work all day the first few times you take days off. And I was like, fuck. I used to never be able to rest. Like when I would take a day off, like all I did was think about work. Now, it doesn't happen at all. It's like, it was such a gift I gave myself. It's like, if I take a day off, I'm like, or even a few hours, I'm just like, I can just be present. The thoughts don't come because you realize there's no threat to not working. You train your brain to understand that. So please understand, there's nothing wrong with you. This is not unique and you're not special. This happens to everybody. It's just, are you going to get through it? Are you going to actually take the time to get through it? Which means you rest while having the thoughts, you tolerate those thoughts to get to the other side where it's like, okay, now I can rest without the thoughts. Eventually they'll go away. But if you stop resting, you just reset the cycle and put yourself back in it. When hiring, how do you test or determine that they are aligned with your core values? Well, I like to say this, you want to operationalize your values. So let's ask ourselves, let's use mine for an example. So we have competitive greatness, we've got sincere candor, and then we've got unimpeachable character. Okay, well, how would somebody demonstrate this on an interview? Well, I'm not, here's the thing. I don't ask fucking questions on an interview about these. I really like the culture interview. I'm not asking them questions. Like, tell me about a time when I'm doing it live. So what does that mean? Competitive greatness. Hey, so that biggest test of this, when you're negotiating pay for me, the most competitively great people on my team, when I'm talking about pay with them, they're not the ones arguing for the highest pay. They're the ones arguing for the most growth. So I don't need to ask questions about competitive greatness. Put your money where your fucking mouth is. Like, seriously, though. I'm like, people are like, I don't know, they're competitive great. I'm like, this motherfucker's been arguing for double the salary, saying he's competitively great, saying that I want to do it to win, and then all you want is money. Show me. Don't tell me, show me. So they show you when you're getting to the pay piece. So I'll ask people, I'm like, oh, would you like more variable pay? Or would you like more base pay? Whenever someone says they want more base pay, I'm like, not as competitively great as the other people, because the most competitively great people always want the variable pay. I'll tell you that much. Because they're like, I want to show you I can win. And they'll take the bet on themselves any day over the solid base. Second piece, sincere candor. People are like, tell me about a time you got hard feedback. Fuck it, give them hard feedback right there. Seriously, I'm like, guys, give them hard feedback on the call. See how they take it. So what will I do? I will ask people on the interview, I will say, this is the one thing that my team told me is a red flag for you. Tell me why you think they would say that's a red flag. Just see how they respond. It's the best thing in the world. It's like my team gives me all this feedback about the interview process. And then I'm like, great, let's find out if they're sincerely candorous. Will they tell me the truth? Will they get defensive? What will they do? Right? And that right there, demonstrating if they have sincere candor. I'm not asking them questions. Lastly, unimpeachable character, right? This is my favorite one. Okay, so I use self-deprecation. So when I'm on the call, I will usually throw myself under the bus. I'm like, oh yeah, if I'm unsure, I'm like, well, nobody's perfect. Everyone's got their own vices. This and that, all this stuff. You can't be responsible. We say competitive, great. Some this and that, but unimpeachable character. I get that you've got lives outside of work, and like, what do you like to do outside of work? Do you have any hobbies? Do you have anything you like to do? What do you do on the weekends? And they're like, oh, well, now that you said it's okay, let me tell you about, snorting coke off a hooker's ass that I did last weekend. And I'm like, oh, that's amazing. You're not hired. So what's my point in all of this? Okay. Is that it doesn't matter what they say. They're just going to tell you whatever the fuck they think you want to hear. How do you get them to show you the value in the conversation you're having? So I had somebody the other day, she was like, you don't really ask me any questions. And I was like, I don't need to ask you questions to understand if you're a culture fit. I can see by the demonstration that you don't know I'm looking for. So it's not about what they say to the questions. It's about how they answer questions. So think about how can you weave your values into the questions that you're asking people? You can all do this. Okay, let's do one more question, then we'll take a break. How do you get low entry level employees to buy into the culture? I mean, I actually think that sometimes they're the most bought into the culture because people that are new haven't been trained on bad behavior. So technically, when you have people who are entry level, they're coming in at like, I don't know. I see entry level as like they come in with a clean slate. They're like at a 0. Whereas people who are executives and leaders, they're coming in at like a 5 or a 6 or a 7. But sometimes what that means is they're a -5, a -6, or a -7 because they've learned things in other organizations that aren't like mine that are bad behaviors. I don't want them in my company. So how hard is it to take a 0 to a 10 versus take a -5 to a 10? It's a lot easier to take a 0 to a 10. So I actually think that this is some of the best opportunity you have is with entry-level people, because if they're coming in, you get to train them however you want to train them on that thing. That being said, if they are coming in for a entry-level role, but they have a lot of experience in entry-level roles, that actually might be worse, because then you've got a -5 in a role that you don't have a lot of resources to train for. Great. Cool. Okay. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back in, I don't know, 12 minutes, 1:55. What's that? Our halfway break. And then we're going to go through the other 3 sections. So cool. These were the 2 meatiest ones I wanted to get through and give you guys a little time to digest. And then we will be back. So that's it. See you at 1:55. We good to go? You guys drop a 1 in the chat? Okay, cool. I'm gonna get rid of this so this does not distract you. I'm not like Alex. I do excrete urine and eat. So I have to take breaks sometimes to do that. Apologies. So distracting, those things. Okay, cool. So what are we going to talk about now? We're going to go into the next section, which is the people flywheel. Okay. So what is the people flywheel? Okay. If we have great culture, we have a great founder, we can get ourselves to a few million. We can get ourselves to a couple tens of millions. But without having the people machine, which is what we're going to talk about now and spend the next couple sections on, we're not going to hit 9 figures for sure. I know a lot of you are like, I want a $100 million company. I want a multiple 8-figure company. And we're not going to stay there easily. Okay, so the first 2 sections were about culture and about you. The next sections are about building the structure, the machine that turns people into leverage. And these are frameworks that you can implement today, probably in this month. Okay. So this is the fallacy that a lot of people have, which is like more people, more capacity, right? Every founder thinks like, I just need more people. And so you hire people. And then for 60 days, it feels good. You're like, these new people are coming in. It feels some momentum. Everyone's like, hey, how's it going? And it's like, oh, we got new people on the team, right? And then the new hire is like, hey, I have 47 questions. Okay. And then they duplicate somebody else's work. And then nobody knows who owns what. And 6 months later, you have double the team and the same revenue. Does that sound familiar? If that sounds familiar to you guys, drop one in the chat. Happens all the time. And that is because you don't have a people problem. You have an absence of structure. Okay. So this is the pattern. You are overwhelmed. So you hire people. New person shows up. They're smart. They're motivated. They're like ready to contribute. But they don't know what their actual job is beyond the very vague job description that's been offered. They don't know how does their work connect to everybody else's. They don't know who to go to for what. They don't know how decisions get made. They don't know what are the unwritten norms of this company. And so they ask you constantly. And now instead of one bottleneck, which is you have one bottleneck, you, plus a dependent person. So you haven't built capacity, you've built dependency. So this section is about building the machine that turns people into multipliers instead of dependents on you. I'm sure some of you feel that way. It's like, oh crap, I feel like people just depend on me now when they come in. I don't want to hire more people because I feel like all these people depend on me. It's like, that's the last thing that we want. So here's the triangle of scale, okay? Functions, people, operations. If we have all of these 3 things, then we get growth, which is great. You want growth. Now, if any corner is weak, okay, then we feel like growth starts to halt. Now, what are these things? Functions. What work needs to happen? Most founders skip this. Okay, they hire a marketing person before defining what the fuck marketing means to your company. So what are the functions that exist in your business? It's different for a e-commerce business, from a B2B business, from a SaaS business, to an AI business, to a service business, to a gym business. People. Who does the work? Okay, you need the right people in the right roles with the right skills, but you can't know what right means until you've defined the functions. Because how do you know what people to get if you don't know the functions you want them to perform? And then lastly, you have the connective tissue, like I referred to earlier, which is your operations. This is how the work flows between people. Okay, this is the connective tissue. How do people communicate? How do decisions get made? These are all great questions to ask. Okay, so most founders obsess over people and they ignore the other 2 corners of this. They hire great talent, but they have unclear functions and they have very bad operations. And then they wonder why things don't work. And then they say it's a people problem. These people suck. But it's like, no, look at the triangle. Is it a function, a person, operation? There are different elements that make this work. Okay, so we want to figure out which one is broken. Now, there are patterns. Okay, there are a lot of patterns that we see at scale for companies. Okay, so for example, in a startup, when we're at 0 to 10 people, often everyone does everything, and role clarity is the problem. So it's like nobody knows what their lane is, and the solution is usually job scorecards, right? It's not like a task list of like, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. It's like literal job scorecards where people have, this is the outcome I'm responsible for. A real tactical one of this is like in every job description that we have in our company, we have a little spot that we call it a 4R document. And we have role, responsibility. You can look at this on our website. And we have result and then requirement. That's like, prereqs. This is what most people are missing, result. So what results are you responsible for with your job? 1 to 10 people, this is typically what's broken. Everyone does everything. And so because of that, you're afraid to tell people what they're actually responsible for. But in order to get out of that startup phase and get into the next one, that is what we have to do. We have to get clarity for people. Now, when you get into 10 to 50 people, what happens? That is when accountability breaks. Okay, that is when work starts falling through the cracks. No one feels ownership. And so it's like people will be walking around, they're like, oh my God, I feel like, oh, I skipped to the next one. Okay, so 10 to 50 people. I was reading those numbers look the same. Information doesn't flow. Okay, so one person doesn't know what the other person is doing. And so it feels like you're essentially the hub of every conversation. And what you want to do to solve this, right, when you're at 10 to 50, is having a structured cadence. So this is having structured meetings, like weekly stand-ups, clear communication channels, decision-making frameworks that people are able to use that aren't dependent on you, right? Now moving into 50 to 100, that is where accountability breaks. So you have the role clarity, you have decision-making frameworks, you have communication, but you don't have accountability. That is where things start slipping through the cracks. This is where you have to have KPIs, OKRs, you have to have ownership charts, like a RACI matrix for departments, so that every outcome has one owner, not like a committee, but like one single person. This is where this gets very helpful. And then lastly, you have 100+ people, okay? At this point, what breaks? Typically, you don't have enough leaders. I'm actually there right now because acquisition.com just crossed, we have 111 people, and I literally said, we need leadership capacity. We don't have enough leaders. We don't have enough of each level here. And so what happens there is often you're managing, say it's like 20 direct reports, but nothing is moving fast, right? And so the solution is that you have to build out whatever layer you're missing. It might be executive layer, it might be the middle management layer, but there's one layer in there. One of them, or maybe both of them, don't have enough people in them because things start to move slow. Now, why is that? Not enough accountability, not enough disseminated decision-making. Right? So when you think about this, right, notice that a lot of this wasn't like, oh, you have shit people, right? This is where a lot of companies break at scale. And notice it's more tied to the function and the operation, not as much the people. Only the last piece is like, oh, we don't have enough, right? So a lot of people think they have a people problem when they actually have a function or an operation problem. So I want you guys to ask yourself this. If you disappeared for 30 days, right? Which corner of the triangle will collapse first? Is it functions, right? Work stops getting done because roles are unclear. Is it people? Team can't make decisions without you. Or is it operations? Communication breaks down and nothing connects. I want you guys to write it down and drop it in the chat. That is where you need to focus. Functions, people, operations. Think about the things that are going wrong right now. And think about it like, if you left for like a month, what would break? Let's do a month. That feels harder. Great. Okay. Now, let's talk about one of the problems that we see in here. Okay. I call this the accountability dial framework. Now, on the next slide, we're going to go through something like this together. Okay. There's 5 levels of accountability that when somebody comes into a business, they are at any one of these dials. Okay. Level 1 is wait to be told. Okay. What does that mean? This person does not take initiative. This role is not meant to take initiative. They are pure task execution. What do I do next? Especially something that you're spoon feeding. Okay. Level 1 accountability. Now we have level 2 accountability. These are people that ask what to do. So they have some initiative, but they do need direction. They're like, should I do this or that? Right? It's not like, what should I do at all? I have some idea, but I'm like, should I do it this or that? Which way do you want? Which way should I do it? Now we have level 3. So where it starts to create some relief. Recommend, then act. Okay, these are people that bring solutions, not just problems. I recommend we do this. Do you agree or disagree? That's reasonable, right? Then we have level 4. That is where you act, then inform. These are where people make a decision, they keep you in the loop, and they said, this is what I did, and here's why. Super simple. And then level 5. This is where we have full ownership. Okay, you are informed after the fact, and only if it's relevant. Hey, yeah, no, I did do that. Yeah, I handled that. It's just like, I got it. It's handled. Now, here's what the problem is that a lot of you guys and a lot of us, we hire for somebody that we want to be a level 5, but we hire someone who's level 2, right? Or we hire level 2, and then we want them to grow and we want to train them up, but we never train them how to go to a 2 to a 5. And so this is why you're the bottleneck. You want people to operate at a level 5, but you hire them into a level 2 role, and then you never teach them how to move up. And then you get frustrated why they keep asking you for decisions and asking you for things, right? You're like, oh my God, everyone's always blowing me up all the time, always fucking talking to me, right? Blowing up my Slack, texting me, calling me all hours of the day. It's like, well, why is that? Now, how do we use the accountability dial? Okay, step 1. I want you guys to screen, like, please do this with your business, or if you have a team specifically that's tough that you're working with, this would be a great opportunity to do this with them. Step 1 is you're going to define the level for each role. Okay, so look at a team you have. What level is each of these roles need to be at to function? Okay, say it's an entry-level person, maybe it's a level 2 or 3. Is it a department head? It's probably like at least a level 4. If it's a C-suite, level 5 for sure. The second piece is you want to train people to move up. Most people can move up 1 to 2 levels with training. Like seriously, you don't need to fire everybody. You need to develop people. So like people are like, you know what? They just can't make decisions. Fuck it, I'm gonna fire them. I'm like, have you ever thought about maybe teaching them how to make a decision? Like maybe we try that. I don't know. It's a novel concept, but the humans are good at learning. That continues to be true. And then step 3 is we want to hold people accountable to their level. Right? So if somebody's hired at a level 4 and keeps operating at level 2, that is a performance issue because you're like, no, I've made you aware and hired you at this level. Right? And so you're like, okay, well, that sounds great, but like, Layla, what the fuck? Like, how do I train people to move up in these levels? And I totally get it. Okay. Say we have a level 2, we're trying to get into a 3. This is a simple one. Teach them to bring solutions, not problems. Before you come to me, write down 3 options and your recommendation. I call this the question answer framework. You tell me the question you have and you tell me the answer you have, and then I'll give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Seriously, it's like that simple. A level 3 to a 4, give them decision-making authority on small things. Hey, I want you to own these 3 things and then tell me what you did later. That's it. Hey, I've noticed that you keep coming to me for these things. I actually just want you to go handle them, and then you can tell me what happened after. Sound good? Great. And then we have a level 4 to a 5. This is where we expand their scope. And we say, hey, I want you to know, like now, we've gotten to the point where I don't need you to say anything. I trust you. You own this function. I'm going to see it on the P&L and on the reporting scorecards that I get, but you don't need to bring all this to me. And so what happens is if you train people and you show your team this dial, it's going to make expectations objective, right? And it gets you out of all the decisions that you're making. This is a fantastic opportunity for you guys to do, I think, specifically with a team that is taking up a lot of your time. I want you to think through each of these dials and ask yourself, have I made it clear what's needed in each of these? Have I hired the right people? Have I made things clear? Now, why is it, right, that systems continue to feel like slowing down? Because I think a lot of you are looking at this and you're like, oh my God, I was hoping there would be something very easy that she would just tell me to do right now. I get it. Slowing down and like doing things like this and saying, okay, we're going to talk about accountability and where you're at in the dial. I understand. It feels like bureaucracy. And when you move really fast, it kind of feels like you're hitting the brakes on things. But I want you to think about what happens when you don't have these things in place. Seriously, let's talk about the opposite. What happens when you don't? You hire somebody great. You ask them how to do something. they ask you how to do something, you explain it. 2 weeks later, they ask you again. You explain it. They do it wrong. Multiply that by 20 people, and you're not building a business. You're building dependency on you. And a lot of you are here right now. Drop a 2 in the chat if you are here right now. Everyone's dependent on you for all this stuff. We have not defined accountability, what people can act on. Like, simple, not easy. There's not some like magic software that's going to fix this for you. There's not some magic formula that's going to fix it for you. It is a series of conversations and expectations that you must set. Now, if you have systems, if you hire people with systems, you hire somebody great, you hand them the playbook, you show them where they're at on the dial, and they execute. They can actually make decisions, and they might only come to you for like 5% of the edge cases that it doesn't cover, which is great. It's like, hey, I don't know this one. Can you tell me what you think of this one? It's like amazing. That's what I'm here for. So systems don't slow you down. They're actually going to free you up and turn your best people from people that just continuously ask you questions into people that can make decisions, which is amazing. That's what you want. And so that is how this compounds. If you look at this triangle, right, you get the right people in the right roles, then work gets done without you. If you get operations that connect them together, information flows, decisions happen fast, right? Which means you get better results. Revenue is going to grow and the culture is going to strengthen. Which then if that does that, you attract better people, which creates stronger functions, which creates clear functions. And then around and around it goes. Okay? A bad system is going to create friction in your business. I want you to realize that. If somebody puts a system in your business and it's bad because it creates friction in an area you don't want friction. It lessens momentum. Things go slower. They feel harder. It feels like bureaucracy. Good systems create momentum. They create something good. So maybe in the short term, there's a cost. But in the long term, this is good because you get the ball rolling, right? And now when you look at this, right, if you have the clear functions, then you can hire people for outcomes, not just tasks, right? You know exactly what you need. And the right people are in the right roles, and they can get things done without you. And people can operate at a level 4 or a 5. The issue is that most founders are on this hamster wheel where they're not going anywhere because they haven't gotten this right. They haven't gotten the flywheel. So it's like one of the pieces is missing. Great. So what do we do here? People flywheel. 1, we audit our triangle. Okay. Which corner is the weakest? Is it functions, people, or operations? Do you not understand what functions you have in the business? Do you not have operations that connect functions? Or do you not have people in their seats? Look at your breaking points. When you look at where you're at in terms of your revenue size, are you fixing the thing that is most likely to be breaking in your business? And the last 2 are around the accountability levels, right? We want to define each one and where people should be operating, and then building the connective tissue around it, right? What are the operations that need to surround these things? So I want you guys to write this down. I just want you to circle and maybe drop in the chat where you feel like right now you are the weakest. This isn't something that's like, okay, we're going to solve it all at once and we're going to solve it all at the exact same time, but it is something that you work through. It's a system. Great. People, all 3, 4. Good. Okay, great. Now, let's talk about the piece that goes with this. And that is the talent engine. Okay, so this is going to help with the people one. How many of you feel like this, right? You probably spend 40 hours a week selling or working on selling customers. It's like working on your marketing function, working on your sales function, whatever it might be. But my question is, how many hours a week do you spend selling talent? Okay. The problem is not the people. The problem is that you don't have a machine to get the people. Okay. So why a lot of people can't scale is often not the product, it's not the market, and it's not capital. It's that you don't have enough great people putting in a great system to attract them. And so in a lot of the portfolio companies that we've worked with, this is what I've seen, is they have really good product market fit, they have strong demand, and they have capital, but they cannot hire fast enough. Or they hire fast enough and then quality tanks, so they have more people, but they don't grow anymore, right? That's where we end up in the last one. And so then the founder says stuff like this, they're like, nobody wants to work anymore. Wrong. A players are all over the place, getting recruited by companies that are way better and way better at attracting. And they're just not choosing us. That's it. And why is that? It's because the talent funnel is broken. You might have a world-class customer funnel, but a garbage talent funnel, and they are completely separate. And also arguably harder because a customer funnel, it's like you might have one or two types of customers you're looking for, whereas a talent funnel, you're looking for like 17 different types of people, right? You have all these different roles you're hiring for, which is a different funnel each time. Okay, so when we think about this, I'll give you guys this example. So at Gym Launch, we were growing about 30% month over month, like I talked about, and we were also losing people faster than we could replace them, which was awful. And the business was exploding, but the team was also imploding, so it sucked. And honestly, it was very painful at the time. So we hit about 20 million in revenue, but we didn't have a talent engine that could keep up. So we would hire somebody, we would throw them in, we would hope they figured it out, and then hope because a lot of them either we would fire or they would decide to leave within like 90 days. That's really embarrassing to say. This was like a decade ago. And then the ones that stayed, they were drowning in work. And so I myself was working like 17 hours a day just to try and keep things together. And then I had this realization. I was like, we have spent years perfecting this customer funnel. Like every email, every lead nurture piece that went out, every call, every touch point was optimized. But for hiring, we just like posted on Indeed and just like, I hope somebody good comes. And that was when I was like, this is ridiculous. Like we need to have an equally strong talent funnel to customer acquisition funnel. And so what ended up happening is that the business was able to grow, not because we hired more people, but because we hired better people, because we had a better funnel. And it's interesting because like a lot of people, they can have a very good customer funnel and they can get great customers, but they do not have a great talent funnel. So they can't get great talent. So it's like you might have these great customers and then eventually you stop getting those great customers because word of mouth gets out because you don't have a great team and they can't service those great customers, which is tough. So when you think about the talent funnel framework, right, there's two sides to this coin. You have a customer funnel and a talent funnel, right? So your customer funnel, you've got lead gen, you've got lead nurture, you've got sales and closing, you've got fulfillment, retention, ascension. Now, what's in a talent funnel? Look how it's equivalent. You have application generation, you have the candidate experience, you have interviewing and closing, you have onboarding, you have development and retention. So it's like, if you can sell customers, you can sell and recruit talent. The frameworks are identical, like literally one for one. And I remember when I like drew this out and I saw these, I was like, oh, I feel dumb that I haven't done this by now. But a lot of people just don't take the time to do it. And because of that, they don't get the talent that they need to scale their business. If you think about it, your business and the customers that you want are even limited by the talent you have. I'll give you an example of something that happened to me the other day. Working with a vendor and essentially like kind of took a chance on them because they were a smaller of a vendor. And then essentially what happened was that one of their employees accidentally sent me a message that was meant for their boss about how fucking annoying I am. Am I annoying? And I was like, is this a fucking joke? Like, what a clown show. And like, literally, that was what I said. I'm pretty sure I said to my team, I was like, no class, clown show, amateur. Now, why is that? Because that one employee was so far below the other people on their team and the brand that they'd created. And now what happens is I have this entirely different perspective of their business. I'm like, ugh, this business is not doing well. I do not like this. Like, I don't even know if I trust them. And so if you're wondering, like, is this a problem? Yes, because what did I want to do immediately? Leave them. Not because of their business or their brand, because of their one employee. If you want to have great customers, you have to have great talent on your team. It's just not going to work without it. So if you look at the stages in a talent funnel, I want you to think about them just like you would think about a marketing funnel. We're going to walk through a couple of these, right? Okay, so the first stage is applicant generation. This is essentially understanding that you market your company like a product. Okay, so your job description that you have, that is a sales page. Your job title is a headline, and your employer brand is your marketing. It is all the same. You're just, instead of trying to get clients, you're trying to get talent. That's it. But like, it's the same thing. It's a funnel. And so if you look at this, I gave you a couple examples, but like when you are creating these materials to hire people, when you're writing job descriptions, when you're writing the ads, when you're writing the postings, when you're posting on Facebook, think about when somebody reads this, how are they going to feel? It's not just informing people, here's the tasks you're going to do, but how do they feel when they read this, right? Are you selling a mission, right? Your job post should make somebody think like, I want to be part of this. And if it doesn't, then let's rewrite it. And at this point, you have ChatGPT, so there are no excuses. Like, take one of my job postings, put it in and say, make it mine like hers, right? Use my company vision, mission, etc. You don't even need to think about this anymore. Just put it in fucking AI. Seriously. But like, this is the piece where most people miss. They think that when they're marketing for talent, they're like, I need to inform them of the job. No, you need to speak to the person that you're trying to attract. A+ talent doesn't want to think about the transactional tasks that they're doing. They want to know how important their role is, how valued it is, how you view the role. I can't tell you how many people will tell me, I'm like, oh, why'd you apply for the role? They're like, I've never seen someone write a job description like that about this role. I've never heard someone talk about it that way. That's intentional. Because I'm like, I want them to know I see them as a partner. I see them as this. I see them as critical and making this happen in the company, whatever it might be. And I write it down. It's the little stuff. I talk about this for Sharon all the time. It's like, it's the 5% that makes you a great company and will get you to these places. But like, you have to put the effort in. So if you go read your job descriptions right now and your postings that are out there, I'm really curious what you would think. Like, are you proud of them? Do you find them attractive? Would you apply to that job? If the answer is no, it's like, well, shit, maybe I should rewrite them. So that's the first phase. It's like, think about it like this. It's copy. And so all these things that you're doing to attract people, it's copy, it's marketing. The next stage is the candidate experience. Okay, so this is essentially, you can think of it like lead nurture. I want you guys to know these facts. Top candidates leave the market in 8 days. The average hiring process is 23 days. 60% lose interest because there's no response for 48 hours. So what does that mean? As you're thinking through your process right now when you hire people, okay, every day that you wait, somebody else closes them. It is worse than Tinder. So think about it like this, right? The candidate experience is your brand in action. Somebody applies. You don't respond for a week. What are you showing them? We're disorganized. We don't value your time. We're not responsive. This is how we operate. Speed signals excellence. Slowness signals dysfunction to people. So like our rules, like every candidate needs to get a response within the 24 hours, even if it's like not a fit. Now, why is that? This is really important to think about. The person that you don't want today might be perfect in 12 months for you. Or they know somebody who is. So you want to treat every candidate like a customer because your reputation is on the line and people talk. So like, even if you know you're going to reject that person, even if all these things, think about this. Treat them like they're a customer, right? You wouldn't, if you got a hot lead, you're not going to be like, oh yeah, sales team, follow up in like, I don't know, 10 days or something like that. It's like, what? You'd be like, jump on that shit right now. It's a hot inbound lead. Let's get it, right? Candidates are the same way. Now, once you have that piece down, then you have your sales process, which is your interview process. Now, you guys can copy ours or you can tweak it your own. We like to go a little bit, I would say, like inflated for this, which is like, we get a lot of people who apply that need to get screened out. I'll just put it that way. So we have a 5-step process. Now, you can also get this down to 3 if you want to turn the alignment and the close call into 1 call. But this is the standard process to follow. And I would say, if anything, like a lot of people skip these steps. What's a screen? The screen is just a really quick, like, can they do the job? Are they basics qualified for this? So you're just screening somebody. It's just like, do we have basic alignment on like, you can do the job, we have the job available for you. Now from there, we go into culture. Now, what is culture? That is what I explained earlier when I was answering the question. Do they align with your 3 non-negotiables? Do they exemplify those values? If they don't, you end it there. It stops at culture. You don't move them to skill. Now, I can say that this, you can have flags for culture, like, I kind of want to dive into this one a little more. And then you kick that to the next one. You say, hey, I want you to dive in and see if they can really like give a little bit more on competitive greatness. We got cut off on the call, et cetera, et cetera. So like flags don't mean stop forever, but if they're really like, you see 2 out of 3 or, half the values, they're not a match. It's like, all right, we got to toss that person out. Then we go to skill. Okay. Can they do the work at the level you need in your company? Now, this can be a combination of a working session where you're giving them live scenarios and asking them to tell what they would do and recall what they've done in the past. This can also be that you essentially ask them to do some sort of case study work where they're doing something for you outside of the call and they have to turn it into you. So like an example would be if somebody's going to come on as a video editor, right? I'm going to have them edit a video. I'm not going to be like, hey, can you tell me how you edited a video? It's like, just do a video and then we'll look at the video. Like, it's that simple, right? Then the next two pieces you can combine into one, or you can do them separate, which is alignment. Do they want your offer? Like we have to make sure comp plan, growth plan, structure, hiring manager, all those things. And then the close, which is essentially like aligning on making sure that their vision for themselves aligns with the role and where they can go in the company. Now you can combine this into one, or you can have them separate, depending on the role, how sure you feel about the person, how much you've discussed thus far. I like to take things role by role because you just never really know. It's like sometimes I'm like, I need an extra call with that person, or sometimes I'm like, I'm just going to do it all in one. But that last call, like the one thing I always tell people, I'm like, listen, I'm not here to sell you on this role. I'm here to make sure that what you want is what I have to offer. Like, and I'm not just bullshitting that. Like, that's the truth. Because if what you provide in the company is not what they actually want for themselves, it's not going to work long term anyways. And then you're just going to waste your time and so are they. Now, what does this sound like? Sounds also like a sales process. Yes, it is. Now you have to think about the candidate experience going through this entire thing, which is like, how are you speaking to them? How quickly are you booking calls between? What's the communication like? Are you sending them materials in between? Are you thanking them? Are they emailing you? Like it's kind of this two-way dance. Now, a lot of people, what they do is they just do like one interview and they call it a day. But it's like, you really want to, like, I would urge you to not just do one interview. I would urge you to at least, right now, if you're doing one, please just do two. And if you're doing three, do four. And I think four, you can do 4 or 5. It's up to you. But like, that's the sweet spot in my opinion is 4 or 5. Now, I also want you guys to, you're gonna be like, oh my God, I don't know if I have enough people for this. I started doing 4 interviews when I had 6 people on my team. And I like was a small business and didn't know what I was doing. I just took my advice from my mentors. I was like, I will do these interviews. And I did most of them. And it sucked. And I was interviewing all the time. But at least I got people on my team that were the right fit. I can't even imagine what it would have been like otherwise, because like with the lack of skill I had of knowing who to hire, if I hadn't filtered more in the interviews, like it would have been way worse than it ever was. Speaking of the interviews, right? When we think about the interviews, we want to think about the interview like sales calls, right? The mistake that a lot of people make when they are attracting very top talent is that they're thinking, oh, this person needs to sell me on why they should work here. But at the same time, what you need to understand is that the person you're talking to, the more of an A player they are, the more they got options. Okay? So they're choosing between you and 3 other offers or doing their own thing, starting their own business. And so when you think about this process and you're going through, if you're not selling in the process, you're going to lose your best candidate to somebody who is. And so gone are the days where like you get on an interview and the first thing that you're going to do is just like, tell me about this, this, and this. It's like the first thing you want to do is just like set expectations. I always tell people 2 things. I say, when we get on a call, I'm like, okay, cool. So you talk to these people about the job and about the role and about the company. They're like, yeah. I'm like, cool. So I'm going to give you an overview of the company. Then I'm going to tell you about the role. And then I'm going to tell you about the future. Does that work for you? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, great. After that, I'm going to leave time for you to ask me questions, at least 20 minutes. Cool? Great. And then we go from there. And so what you want to realize is that while you're going through this process, it's not that you're just interviewing people. They're interviewing you. The better they are, the more options they have, the more they're interviewing you as well. So I like to tell people, I'm like, okay, at least 30% of the interview should be for them to ask me questions. But I always preface every interview, no matter what the role is, with like, let me tell you about the company, let me tell you about the role and why we're even hiring for this. Context. Okay. Now, once we get past the interviewing piece, that is when we get into onboarding, right? So this is the next phase of the funnel. You've gone through all that. It's like you've written the copy. There's a great headline. A captivated, A player applies for the role. You take them through a great interview process. They agree. you agree on pay, and now, okay, they're going to come into your company. It's like, oh, it's amazing. It's done. It's not done. The work has just started, I promise you, because 91% of employees consider leaving in the first month when expectations don't match reality. So the same reasons that customer churn is why employees churn, because you made promises that contradict how you actually operate. We call this lying in many places. Okay, but seriously, what happens a lot of times is like people just like oversell on the interview and they beef up like what the company's really like. And then when this person starts, it's like nobody knows they're starting. They don't have a fucking laptop. They don't have logins. And then they're wondering, did I make a huge mistake? These people don't know their shit together. And so onboarding is not orientation, it's proof. Proof that you are who you say you are. Proof that you're the real deal and not a piece of shit. That's what I tell myself, right? That is what it is. It's proof of that. And so what you want to do is it doesn't end here. Once you get this person in, you need to build out what we call the 30, 60, 90. Every single person in my company gets one of these. Okay, what are they going to do in the first 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? And then what we do is we lay out the first 30 days for them. This is like the simplest thing, and nobody does it. I can't even tell you. Even on my portfolio companies, I can't tell you how many of them. They're like, oh, I brought on that new COO, and they're just like not working out too well. And I was like, oh, let me see the 30, 60, 90. Motherfucker. Guess who never has a 30, 60, 90, right? Every time someone tells me, I'm like, let me see the 30, 60, 90. And then it's like, oh yeah, I don't have one of those. I'm like, checks out. Makes sense. Your fault. So that being said, with the 30, 60, 90, okay, what we want to do is this is going to make sure we bridge the gap to what we promised and what we actually have. Promise, proof. Promise, proof of promise. That's what we're doing here. And so the last thing you want is that somebody walks in and their experience is like, you don't have your fucking shit together. But so many people do this. They're like, oh, well, we hired him. And it's funny, even Alex, it's so funny. He'll be like, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, they said yes and they signed. And he's like, great, they're in, like done. I'm like, it's not done. The work has just started, motherfucker. I have to onboard them because onboarding is so much more work than hiring people. It's like a brutal process because if you really want to onboard someone well, a lot of people are like, okay, 7 days. Most employees aren't at full productivity until month 6. So people are like, oh, onboarding, it's like 7 days. No, at least 90. Like we need to at least focus on 90 days because at the end of 90 days, you at least know, do they belong or not? Which is typically determined by the first 30, which is a lot of the times in your control too. And if you're losing people during the onboarding, it's probably not because they can't do the job. It's because you didn't set them up to win. And a lot of people just don't take this piece seriously. They're just thinking about like getting the person to say yes, but it's like, it's not just about getting them to say yes. It's about getting them to say yes after they're there and still like the place. Okay. Now, if you've onboarded somebody, you've done the 30, 60, 90, you've come this far and you're like, they haven't left me yet. Now what happens? Now you develop and retain people. Okay. Now, why is that? A lot of people don't leave companies. They leave lack of progress. I can tell you that personally. Now, there's 3 reasons that they often leave for lack of progress. Lack of growth in pay, and lack of recognition. It's like if those things are not increasing, then people tend to look elsewhere, right? And people like to feel progress. So it's like what their challenge is today, what their pay is today, what they're recognized for today. If it's not different a year from now, they're going to have thoughts. That's just people. Okay. So one thing I want you guys to understand is that retention is cheaper than recruiting. And it is easy to do. I'd say, again, it's simple to do, not easy to put into practice because it takes discipline and it takes systems, right? But oftentimes there's just 3 pieces, okay? Clear growth path, a rhythm of feedback, and a recognition system. And if you have those 3 things, it's actually pretty easy to keep people. I would say like right now we've got 1, 2, and 3. Drop in the chat if you have any one of those. Do you have a clear growth plan? Number 1. Do you have feedback rhythm? Number 2. Or do you have a recognition system? Number 3. If you have one of those, just drop in the chat which numbers you have. 2 and 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2. Cool. None. That's okay. Okay, so let's define what these are. Clear growth path. This is all I want to say to this. most people overcomplicate this. They're like, oh, a growth path. Like, tell me how to get from, junior this to senior. No, fuck that shit. Growth path is literally just skills. So if you think about the skills somebody starts with, what are the skills they need to have to get to their goal? That's it. So when somebody comes in, you want to understand where they're starting, what's their job, what's their goal job, and then what are the skills that they need to get there. That is a growth plan. And now, if I really wanted to change someone's behavior, would I start with all the skills at once? Would I tell them that you need to fix these 17 things? No, you give them one by one. So just like the pyramid, right? You can't have one level without the other. It's the same for a growth plan. And so when you're doing this with people, you need to understand that you define a growth plan and then you talk about it in skills, because a few things. One, you guys probably don't have some plan that you can put together. It's like, here's all the jobs you're going to have for the rest of your career. Here's the 17 steps you're going to take to get to the top. You don't fucking know. And if you know, it's going to change in like a month. So what are we doing here? So we got to talk in skills, not in actual job titles. We're not a giant corporation with 5,000 people. Okay. So that's where a lot of people get hauled up. And this is the easiest solution for it, is you talk in terms of skills. Now, where do you talk about those skills? It's the next thing. Now that you know what those skills are, you got to talk about them. So you talk about them during your feedback rhythms, which could be weekly one-on-ones, monthly check-ins, quarterly career conversations. My favorite two are one-on-ones and quarterly review. That's it. But here's the thing. It's just a conversation. It should probably always be something you're talking about. Because with the people that I would say pretty much everyone that I work with, it's like we're always talking about what they're working on, within themselves. So it's not like when the quarter comes, they're like, oh my God, Layla thinks I'm not progressing here. I'm like, in fact, most of my quarterlies, I honestly fucking hate doing them because I'm just like, yeah, we already know. I'm like, is any of this? And they're like, no, we already talked about this. I'm like, great. Well, I'm just going to check this off the list so I can say I did it, because other people do need to do it. And so it should almost feel like it's repetitive, because you should be talking about this every week with them. Now, the third piece to it is recognition system. Okay, this is the same thing that we talked about earlier. It is the daily Slack shoutouts. It's the weekly wins, the quarterly rewards. Okay, so it's recognizing people for the things that they're growing in, for the skills that they're acquiring. And so when you bring somebody in, if you want to keep them, these are the three things that you want to do. You want to show them how they're going to grow, give them feedback in terms like, how are you getting there? Are you close? Are you further? Are you a 5 out of 10? Are you a 4 out of 10? Where are you at? And then you want to recognize them when they do well and when they're progressing and showing progress in their behaviors towards winning. That's it. I think a lot of people are like, oh, it's some giant fancy system. I need some crazy HR software. And it's like, no, I just have a notepad in my phone that has my employees' names, their goals, their skills, and then what we're focused on. That's it. And then we talk about it. Again, simple, not easy. Most people just don't want to have the conversation. And so then they say, it sounds very hard. I need a software or AI or some coach to come in. You could probably, if you just sat down and thought about it, you come up with it. People really value when their bosses don't just think about what they need done for them, but how to grow them as an individual in their career, as a person. So to give you guys an understanding of how impactful it is to have a talent funnel. Okay, this was in my last company. This is not in acquisition.com. This is in Gym Launch. But before our talent funnel, it would take us, we'd have 50 applicants, 2 hires, 1 would stay, 90 days. Afterwards, we would have 300 applicants, 5 hires, and then 5 would stay over 2 years. Our time to hire was 60 days. We got down to 21. We had 40% annual turnover. So embarrassing. 8% annual turnover. The other one, we were scrambling to fill roles. And the last one, we had A players on the bench ready. This is the same system that we have taken and we have used in acquisition.com. Okay, and we also use it with our portfolio companies. And I also like to preach it all the time because it's so fucking important. Okay, when we rebuilt our talent funnel, that is when everything changed for us, because then it wasn't like, oh my God, nothing's getting done, this and that, all this stuff. It's like, okay, now it's easy to find people as we scale. So now I can focus on the operations and the functions. Right? And it's like the business didn't just grow when we implemented this. It started to feel like a grown-up business, not a toddler, right? Because when good people stay for a long time, you can build stuff easily. Think about a relationship. It's easy to build a life with somebody you've known for 5 years or 10 years. It's easy to have kids with somebody. A lot of times they have, if you do it on purpose, it's like usually you like get married and then you have time and then you have kids. And it's like there's a stable foundation. And it's like that talent funnel is about building a company that people don't want to leave. And that is how you do it. How they come in determines how long they stay. End of story, if I had to say it in like one sentence. So we want to audit our talent funnel, okay? Rate ourselves on 1 to 10. Application generation, candidate experience, interview and closing, onboarding, development, and retention. So where are you guys on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 is like, it doesn't exist. 10 is like, I'm a friggin' rock star and I should be teaching this. Get off the stage, bitch. Is it a stage? Cool. Okay, great. Now, let's take a couple questions on the talent funnel and people flywheel. Some questions, just drop them in the chat. All right, hiring. Do you recommend a test period or internship? I think with high turnover roles that are low entry level, you could do that. But I think for a lot of roles, that doesn't make sense. And it just shows lack of ability to select people during the hiring process. So it's like, I think that if there's a role that is, okay, so I'll tell you some roles that might be good for something like a test interval. Might be something like an SDR, might be something like an entry level roles where people have little work experience are good ones that you can test this out on. That's what I'll say. Roles that are not entry level where people have to have a lot of work experience, I would not test that out on. I think it would be semi-insulting to people. But when somebody's new in the workforce and it's a lower level job, that's often where you see this does work. Great. How should I incentivize my C-suite team so they feel like they are growing with the business as we scale? I want to make sure they stay motivated and loyal as we grow into multi-high six-figure months. That's a tough one because when you're growing really quickly in the beginning, compensation plans have to change quite frequently. And a lot of people, when you're growing really quickly, you also haven't put all the structure in place. And so the profit margins tend to go down with time. And so what a lot of people do is they give too much away and then later they have to like renegotiate it back. So I prefer that you're conservative and you might put together what we call like, where is it? This paper's so aggressive. An MBO plan, this is an easy one, okay? What does this stand for? Manage by objectives. So what that might look like is you have an executive and they're paid $200K a year, right? And now you say with your MBO plan, you can make up to 50% of your salary if you hit these MBOs. What are the MBOs? You decide. Typically, what they are is the 5 things, 3 things or 5 things, right? You want them to do that year, plus the revenue and profitability of the company. And each of these are weighted. This attributes to 50% of the 50%. This contributes to 50% of the 50%. So that's 50% of the 50% of the 50%. 50%. So it's a calculation, right? This one might be like set up new CRM. Maybe this is like get collections to 80% collected. This might be reduce churn by whatever. So management by objectives. We essentially will have their personal things they're responsible for, maybe 3 to 5. Then we have the revenue and profitability targets of the company. their annual salary, they can make up to 50% of it based on if these things are hit. That's my favorite one to start with because it's so flexible. I don't like starting with profit sharing or equity because I almost never recommend the equity when you're that small. And profit sharing, the profit's going to change so much, it's going to be volatile that you want some dependency on it, but not all of it. Cool. What have you found most effective for developing and retaining high-performing remote team as you scale? Honestly, I mean, it's the same stuff. I mean, I just used to do way more Zoom calls where I'd be coaching people, training people, instead of doing in-person meetings. We would do like Zoom, meetups, Zoom recognition awards. We would do an annual team meetup in person, and then on a quarterly basis, we would have the leaders fly in for a meeting. But I didn't do anything like really that differently in terms of developing people and retaining. I think that the only difference is you develop. I would say like there's a little bit difference with retention. In fact, I think it's easier sometimes with the remote because there's less cost to have the job. You have to be somewhere, and that's a cost to a person. So I think actually remote can be a good thing to retain people at times because if they move, you don't have to worry about it. Spouse gets another job, they just want to like go somewhere. It's like you don't got to worry. So I would do the exact same shit. Like in fact, I mean, my first company was remote for 7 years. So I mean, I didn't do the in-person until acquisition.com. And we'll take one more. How do you start to attract great talent after reputational damage from previous staff leaving my true lack of leadership? Understood. State the facts and tell the truth. I'm going to be honest with you, it's going to affect you from like the people that will never apply, that see whatever, damage has been done, reviews have been left. You can't fix that right now. All you can do is focus on trying to bury it with good stuff. You can't get rid of the bad. You can try and get more good. And so it's like, can you get people to leave good things about your business now? And if you can't, when people are on the interviews, tell them where you fucked up. Own up to it. In Gym Launch, I had to, unfortunately, we had a department that overhired and then we had to do a layoff. And it wasn't because we weren't profitable or anything. It was just like, dude, I have 20 people doing nothing. I'm not going to, that makes no sense as a business. And so, I let those people go and my Glassdoor went from like a 5 to like a 2.4. And I was like, I just like wanted to die. It was awful. And then all of a sudden, everyone that used to be like, oh my God, your company looks amazing was like, your company looks like a scam piece of shit. And I was like, fuck, it's because I suck. And I would just tell people, I was like, listen, this is what happened. And I was honest about it. And I was like, here's where I fucked up. Like, I think at the end of the day, like all you can do is tell the truth. Like that is all any of us can do. And also life is so much easier if you just tell the truth and you don't feel like you're putting on a facade for people. So I would just say, be honest. And if they don't like that, then that's okay. That's not your responsibility. Okay. Let's go to the next section. We are going to, whoopsies. There was the last one. Okay, well, it's okay. It was just a summary slide. Okay, now we want to talk about systems to scale people. Now that we have the talent engine in place and we have gone over that. So you can have great culture, great leadership, great structure, and great people, but you can still collapse under your own growth. I'm sure some of you guys feel that. It's like, I have all these good things, but it still feels like something's wrong. And that is because you miss an operating system. A couple of you earlier were like, I don't know what she's saying about operations. Here we are today. We're talking about it. Okay. So a lot of companies, I would say like all companies go through this at some point in time. Okay. What gets you to a few million or a few 100,000 or whatever it is does not get you to the next stage, right? Moving fast, winging it, founder intuition, right? That gets you to a certain point, but then you need to switch to moving with intention, having repeatable systems, having team-driven execution. And so there's a moment where being scrappy stops working, and a lot of people miss it, okay? What ends up happening is that you're moving fast or nimble, right? But somewhere between like, a couple million and 30 million, depending on your skill, the chaos becomes a huge liability to the business. And I think a lot of people, they resist it because they think the things that they're doing that are scrappy make them special. You're not special. You're small. And it's okay. But like, you need to do the things that make you scalable so you can become a big grown-up company. And it's not bureaucracy, it's creating clarity and rhythm so that you have systems that allow you freedom to think and to grow. Okay? Think about it like this. The team mirrors you. If you lack cadence, the company lacks momentum. So you have to have a cadence that you set for your whole company. And your team will never be more disciplined than the cadence that you have for yourself, which you exemplify to them. So a lot of people say, they're like, dude, my team lacks so much accountability. And then they cancel one-on-ones, don't follow up on commitments. They change priorities every week, midweek. They're constantly canceling things, adding things, changing direction. So it's like the team is not the problem, the founder is, and your team is just going to mirror your rhythm, whether that be good or bad. Okay, so if you don't have a meeting cadence, why would they? Okay, if you don't document decisions, why would they? If you don't follow through, why would they? Systems start with us. And so the first system that we need is going to be cadence. Okay, so if we look at the management operating system, right? Management is essentially how you run the day-to-day of the business. We're going to think about it with these 5 things. We have expectations, accountability, communication, cadence, and recognition. Okay, so I'm going to give you a brief definition of each. I want you guys to rate yourselves on these so you can understand what you're missing in your company. Okay, these are the practices of management as I distill them down. So when I think about what's missing in my company or in a manager, I think about these 5 things. You're going to get the slides after. Okay, the 5 practices in your daily operating rhythm. Expectations. Do you define what success looks like? Is it clear? Is it measurable? Is it specific? So people know exactly what outcomes they're responsible for achieving. So it's like, do they know what they're accountable, right? Like, what is the expectation of this person? The second piece is accountability. Okay, that is when you follow up on commitments with facts and clarity. This is where you create a culture where people own their results and they have conversations when their expectations don't match. Okay, so it's like, okay, expectations are not, up to par. We have a conversation. That's accountability. Third piece is communication. Okay, this one's like, a lot of people get this one. This is how do you create feedback loops where you have information, expectations, and there's free-flowing information as a team. This can be meetings, Slack, etc., blah, blah, blah. Then we have cadence. That is the predictable repeat rhythm in the company of meetings, check-ins, alignment, momentum across the team. Everyone knows what's coming next. What's the next thing? What's the next touch point in the company or the department? And then lastly, we have recognition, which is publicly celebrating and reinforcing behaviors that align with our values and standards. And that's where we create the culture where those things get rewarded, right? We went over that one already. So here's what we're going to do. I want you guys to rate yourselves on 1 to 10 for each one. Expectations. Do you define outcomes for people? What does a 10 look like? Measurable outcomes are defined for every role. Success metrics are specific. What does a 3 look like? Vague goals, and the team's usually like, what should I be working on? Then we have accountability. Okay, a 10, check-ins on commitments and conversations are always based on facts and where things are at. What a 3 looks like is you avoid hard conversations and things slide. And then communication. A 10, you have weekly one-on-ones, you have two-way feedback, regularly asking for input. A 3, feedback is annual. People rarely ask for it. Issues start to fester. It's like you've got like a wall between you and the person. Rate yourselves on each of these, scale of 1 to 10. And then we have the next 2. Be honest. Still be honest. Recognition, okay? 10, weekly, daily, public recognition tied to your values and behaviors. What a 3 looks like is you only give negative feedback and recognition is rare. Cadence, predictable rhythm that compounds. A 10, consistent weekly one-on-ones and team syncs. You have a predictable monthly and quarterly rhythm. A 3 looks like random meetings, canceled one-on-ones, and there's no rhythm to the company or to the team. Okay, so you're going to have a score out of 50. I want you guys to add these up once you have them, and I want you to drop your score in the chat. Okay, if it's below 30, you don't have a great management system. It is semi-broken, and that's okay, because guess what? We can't get better if we don't know where we're at. And you're going to, at that point, pick your 2 lowest scores, and those are the systems you're going to focus on. If you're a 30 to a 40, you have gaps. And again, you want to focus on those 2 because that's probably where things break down. If you're above a 40, focus on consistency and not stopping doing things that are working, just improving incrementally. Love it. 30, 26, 44, 15, 35, 37, 15. Haha. It's okay. 33, 34, 21. Great. Nice. I appreciate you guys all like sharing in the chat. This is super helpful for everybody. And like, if we don't know where we're at, it's really hard to know what we need to do to get better. Which brings me to the next piece of this. If you look at your operating system, okay, and this one is going to be more closely tied to you guys, especially if your business is smaller. Some of this, it might be that actually all of this falls on you right now, okay? But this should be based on you and the leaders you have in the business, which is the 5 practices of leadership that I have honed in on that make great leaders, okay? These are what keep you from capping at your current level, okay? The first one is direction. Now, what is direction? Consistently communicating where the company is going and why it matters so that your team can make sure that they see that their daily work aligns with the long-term vision. They understand how it ladders up. Direction. Second is resources, okay? Proactively removing obstacles and providing the tools, the people, the training, right, that your team needs to execute without being blocked. Do you provide resources for your team? I actually see it a lot of times, like the job of a leader is a resource gatherer. Whatever those resources are, they are to get them for their team. They go out and get them and bring them back to their team. Third is autonomy, training your team to make decisions independently and trusting them to own the outcomes without needing your permission for everything. Do you give your team autonomy? Do you have enough of the other things in place that they actually value that? They actually feel like they have it. They can do stuff without you. They're not dependent on you. Fourth, very important and often very missing, long-term thinking. Are we making decisions based on what builds a compounding business over 3, 4, 5 years, not just what optimizes this quarter's metrics? Guys, you can tell the maturity of a founder or a CEO by what time length they speak in. Like if they say, hey, I'm thinking like what we should do in the next few weeks versus, hey, so I'm thinking for the next 5 years. Seriously. Like when I'm talking with Sharon and Alex, we're talking in 15 years. It's like, yeah, I think we could do that in like 7 years. It's like, yeah, we could do that, but we've got like this is going to take us for the next 6 years. This is going to take us 6 years to execute. It's like, is that always right? No, of course not. And like the world changes so much. Who knows? Robots could kill us by then. But I'm not going to operate that way. And instead, I'm going to say, you know what? At least I know I'm thinking long-term about my business. I'm thinking where this is all laddering up to. That also allows you to make decisions that might be not as fun in the short term that are better for the long term. Oh no, it's going to happen. Went down the wrong hole. The last one is rest. Okay, so notice this came in another part as well. What is rest? Protecting your physical, mental, and emotional capacity so that you can lead people with clarity, judgment, and composure instead of operating from a place of being burned and reactive decision making. Okay, if you look at great leaders, if you look at the best leaders that you know, do they come up and they're like, are they like, okay, they're shake it together, like chugging caffeine all the time, doing all like, I mean, sometimes people have to do that, but it's like they want to present in a way that's like they have prepared for this. They have rested. They are ready and they are conditioned. So the leadership operating system, direction, 1 out of 10. You have a clear vision, what a 3 looks like. You mention it once every 6 months. Resources. You're constantly asking people, hey, what's blocking you? What's constraining you? What a 3 looks like. You are blocking them. You are constraining them, right? I am the problem. 3, autonomy. You trust your team to decide. 10 is like they're operating at a 4 to 5 on the accountability dial, whereas a 3 is like your team has to ask you for permission on everything. The next 2, long-term thinking. Okay, a 10 is you invest in systems even when they slow short-term execution because you know that they build long-term momentum. A 3 is like every decision is literally based on this quarter or worse, this month's sales numbers. You know who you are. 5, development, right? You grow your people's capacity. What does a 10 look like? You have formal development plans for everybody. What a 3 looks like is people leave because there's no growth plan. So I want you guys to add up your scores, and we are going to do a score of below 30. Again, you are probably managing instead of leading. And that's okay. We just want to recognize where we're at in the process. If you're 30 to 40, you probably have a decent amount of leadership, but you probably lack consistency. So it's like we just need to get dialed with the consistency of what we're doing. And then above 40 is like pretty strong foundation. It's like, this is good. Let's build upon this and let's focus on developing other leaders to duplicate your success. Great. It's okay, John. You can tell us. I know it's bad. You got to be bad to be good. If you're not afraid to suck, you're never going to be good. So it's okay. But like, this is why I like having you guys rate yourselves and all this stuff. Because like, if I just sit up here and tell you all this stuff and you don't, I want you to retain it and feel it. Like, I want you to really think like, where am I at? How is this relevant to my business? Great. Getting to work ASAP. I mean, I'm glad. So I'll tell you guys a little story. I remember there was the first week that I did not work in my business. I took a full week off, and it was the first time I ever took a week off in 6 years where I like didn't go on Slack, right? And it was because for years I said that I could not take the days off. I was like, I cannot step away. I was like, what if this happens? What if this breaks? What if that, right? It was like, I didn't realize it was my ego thinking like nobody else could do things as good as me. But I did. I took a full week off. I'll remember I was like in California, in Newport Beach. I took a week off and I was like so nervous. Maggie probably remembers. And the crazy part is that after the week off, I got back into everything and I was like, okay, either a bunch of shit broke or nothing broke at all. And instead, what happened is that plenty of things happened. In fact, lots of problems happened. A key person quit and our entire like ads got shut off and all of it got solved without me. All of it. They didn't call me. They did nothing. Nobody 911 me. And that's not because I wasn't important. It's because I had finally built the systems that didn't need me in the room when these things were happening. And I remember that week taught me so much. The biggest thing it taught me is that if you build a business that cannot run without you, you don't build a business, you build dependency. If your business can run without you, you have done your job. You've built a business. Notice that it's like you are different and separate from your business. You build the business. You are not the business. And so I think about it like this. Rest is diagnostic. If you take a break from your business, you can see where systems are weak. And so I often will tell people, there's some people in this room who know this, I'll be like, take a week off, take a week off, take a vacation. Because I'm like, let's see what breaks. We're not going to know unless you try. It's like the fastest way to see it. In fact, earlier this year, I had to take off a couple weeks, basically like a month of productivity for a surgery I had. I was like, crap, this is the worst time ever. I just hired 3 people. I was supposed to onboard them. I couldn't onboard them all. It was like a whole thing. And what it did is it allowed me to see all the holes in the business so much faster than if I had been in it with it. Right? And so this is why it's so important that we're able to also like get some space, like taking the day like right now when you guys aren't in the business, right? Because I'm sure some people are like, I couldn't make the call because I'm working. It's like, but you need the call so that you don't do that all the time. Like you need to work on the business, not in the business all the time. Right? So we've audited our system, right? We have our management on a scale of 1 to 10 that you guys have and our leadership. This is what I want you guys to think through, which is like, what are the lowest pieces on each of those? And those are what you want to start with. Now, you might have areas to improve in all of them, but I want you to think of the ones that are the absolute lowest and just start there. So it's like circle just like the 2 lowest scores. And I don't want you to look at anything else because I think that's just going to be like too much shit to think about. This is already a lot of shit to think about, right? But that's just too much. So that being said, before we go into the next, let's go ahead and take some questions on Structure, management, leadership. Let's see. How do you hire a personal coach and how do you make sure that you hire the right one? Well, I don't really know how you hire a personal coach. If you have people you trust, I would say like referrals are always the best way to go. If you know people who have coaches that they really like, if you know ones that have coached people that you admire, I would say that's great. How do you know you hired the right one? Things get better, not worse. Um, but it's also like I don't know what a personal coach, like if they're for you or for the business. But I would say like progress is the number one measurement. Um, and I think that the best people can help you make a lot of change in a short period of time, not a long period of time. So I would say that's a good thing to look for. What does one do for rest? Does developing new skills, reading, etc., count as rest? I mean, yeah, anything. I think about it like this. Rest stands for restoration. Ah, it's like restoration. And so if you think about like, how do I restore myself with this time? What does that look like for you? It's different for me than from you. I love walking outside, reading, talking to people, hanging out with friends. You might like being alone, going camping, doing like that would exhaust me and I'd be disgusted by the camping. So, like, you have to decide what that is for you. But I think that's the biggest, like, restoration. How do you restore yourself? It's different for all of us. Even for me, like, something that's a restoration like esque activity would be like writing content in my free time, like making something like that. Like I don't have time to do that often. When I do, it's nice because I'm getting thoughts out of my head and I'm doing something creative. Like that can be restorative for me. It's different for everybody. Whereas like again, I know people who will go camping. That would be incredibly stressful for me. I would hate to go camping to restore myself. I'd be like bugs, outdoors, public porta potties, gross. Like I don't want that. It sounds awful. So like I would ask yourself, in what state do you feel like you are most present and that you feel content? It's the best two words I would say. Present, content. What was the biggest difference you needed to learn when hiring higher level people or what you usually see others need to learn? What does one do for, oh, yeah. The biggest difference I need to learn when hiring higher level people, or I see that other people need to learn, is that they look for more of the same. Like they're like, oh, marketing person, marketing manager, next and they're like, oh, it's just more of the same, but it's not. At some point, it goes like this. And you actually don't want somebody that can do more of the same. You want somebody that's completely different. So, like, if, for example, you're bringing in an executive in a team, you don't want that person to be good or even better at the same things that people already on the team are. You don't actually necessarily want them to be even able to do those things or have done them for a while. Because typically when you hire an executive, right, like for my size business, for example, it's like I'm looking for a thought partner, a thinker, a person who's only there to think about strategy and build the team and bring in the resources. I actually don't necessarily think that an executive needs to know how to do everything all the time. Could I, at this point in my business, go and do every job day one right now? No. So should I expect every person I bring in an executive level to go do that? No. Also, if the executives aren't thinking on behalf of the business and thinking about the future of the business, then who is? And so what I see a lot of people do is their mistake is like they're so afraid of getting somebody who's just strategic that they hire somebody who's really just still a doer. That's probably the biggest mistake I see. Okay, great. One more. How much does someone like Alex, who's the face of the business, need to do with developing the team, one-on-ones, et cetera, if his content is making the money? In my business, I am Alex. My husband is you, Layla. Alex only will come and do those things if they are necessary or he wants to do those. So he doesn't have formal development or one-on-ones with people on the team because people don't report to Alex. So I mean, that's stuff that me and Sharon handle. So he will do that if he wants to, because he likes to invest in people on the team and he likes to talk to them and help them. But he does it at his own discretion. It's not like a pre-planned cadence. So I would say like not everybody in the company has the same function. Cool. All right. Appreciate those questions. So wrapping this all together, what I really want you guys to take away from this is that putting this structure into your business is not going to slow you down, but it will keep you free. And I know that some of these things, they sound like honestly boring. I get it. Like I don't disagree with you. And they sound corporate. I don't disagree with you. But what I have learned is that if you do not have these systems, then you will plateau and you will hit a breaking point and you will think it's revenue, it's sales, it's product. It's not. It's probably the infrastructure of your business. It's your operating system, right? And so oftentimes I think people feel like these things stop pieces of the business when actually getting them in place one time takes effort and might pause things, but having them in the business once they're built does not, right? Like systems don't kill creativity, they will actually protect it. Because when execution is handled, you can think more freely, right? They don't slow down decision making, they actually speed them up because everyone actually knows what decisions they make. And they don't make you boring, they make you scalable because you can build something that actually lasts, which I think pretty much everybody here wants. Like we would all like to build something that lasts. So putting this all together, now that you guys have your scores and you've gone through everything, we've gone through 5 pieces: culture as a system, you, the founder, as the capacity ceiling or the bottleneck, the people flywheel, the talent engine, and the scaling structure. Okay. So what I want you guys to do is to tell me in the chat which one of these is your biggest pitfall. What do you need to work on the most? What stood out to you in this entire presentation of where like you need to dial in the most? Is it culture? Is it you being a bottleneck? Is it the people flywheel? I bet you guys can't guess what kind of soda this is. I don't endorse Coca-Cola. Is it the talent engine scaling structure? Culture and bottleneck, founder culture, talent scaling. That's great. I love it. Cool. Go ahead and let's say, what was your number one takeaway? This would be just super helpful for me, honestly, selfishly. Like, what was your biggest aha moment from this entire thing? I'd love if you guys would write that down as well. Like, what was the biggest aha that you got from the last 3 hours? I have lots of work to do. Okay. Rolling result. I fucking suck. Jesus, come on, guys. Let's be a little nicer to ourselves. Nobody cares about your EBITDA. No, they don't. Caught, not taught. Love it. Lots of work. 5-step interview. Who do I need to become? You can fix this. Yes, you can. Job, scorecard, not tasks. I have myself a job. Yep. Need to rest. Yep. Culture is what I tolerate. Love it. These are great takeaways. Perfect. So good. Guys, I have loved spending these last 3 hours with you. I know it's a lot of information, and I appreciate that you guys have been able to take it in. What I would love more than anything is that you do it. Like you take this stuff and you implement it into your business because like we have too many businesses in this world that do not have these things in place, and that is why they stay small. And like if you want to build a big business and a business that you are able to step out of and you do not feel guilty stepping out of and you feel like you have freedom from, these things will help you do that. And I like fucking promise you, it's not you getting a new product and more leads and like following the woman in the red dress. It is like putting in this boring ass shit that will actually make your business great and make you a great leader by consequence. So I love you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for your attention over the last 3 hours and being so engaged. And please drop updates in the school group. I'm excited to see how this goes and excited that I'm going to see a couple of you next week and at the full day for those of you who I think were the highest book buyers. And then after that, I will see you in a couple workshops from now. So I appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your Friday.